in the studios at Q95, the big station. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube, so please share the live, like our pages, get the latest breaking news and happenings as it happens, only on Q95, the big station. My distinguished guest tonight, Leroy Wadix Charles, they call him Prince Wadix. Ronald Land is expected to join us later. The great Derrick Peters is with us, and Dr. Thomson Fontaine, he's with us as well, and he's in control of the console. So I'm sure that he will direct your calls to us tonight. I know he loves to hear from the people, so he will take your calls. So we are continuing to move towards reviving the spirit of graciousness and love and peace and prosperity and unity among Dominica's, Kalinago, and Afro-Caribbean people. So our topic tonight, and maybe it's a very timely topic tonight as well, because I understand that the World Creole Music Festival is just about to be launched. Great thing that is happening there. I'm looking forward to that launch and to the festival itself. So our topic tonight is the economic and global positioning of Dominica's cultural industries. Like our Kana slips on our bouillon, our calypso. We have to do something about globalizing our cultural industries and developing some real cultural industries from which many of our local artists can make a decent living, like they do in many other countries. So here are a few questions that we have tonight and some talking points that I hope my guests, Ra and Wadix and Dr. Fontaine and Ronald will help us with. Um, First of all, yeah, as I said, we are on field. Let me just put the question right before I say anything else. Should meaningful allocations be made in the annual national budget for Dominica's cultural industries? In other words, the question really is, should we really develop our cultural industries? When we look at other major sectors like tourism and agriculture, there are budget allocations made for them every year. Should but national budget allocations be made annually for Dominica's cultural industries? So I'm asking that question tonight. I'm hoping that we can deal with that issue, because I think myself, frankly, that is absolutely necessary that we have that, get behind the industry. All right. Is it time that Dominica's Festivals Committee be replaced by a Dominica Festivals Corporation? I mean, how can you have a major festival like that called a committee? I'm not sure what they call the persons in charge of it. When we did it before, it used to be called the executive director. When Eddie Toulon was there, we called it the National Dominica Festivals Commission. I see it has been called now a committee. I rather that it should be graduated into a Dominica Festivals Corporation with a dynamic CEO, or what we might call an executive director. And it should have an annual calendar of major events. I would think myself, and I will list a few, I think at least 6 events, major events annually, so that our local artists can make some money. My guests may wish to suggest their own events of choice, but here are my 6 major annual events for global consumption. The first of all, I mean, I'm just looking at it in some kind of order of calendar months. I mean, Carnival is one, obviously, and the Creole Music Awards. I believe we need to have Creole Music Awards show, just like we have Latin music and country music awards. And we need to have an Emmys and Grammys. We need to have a Creole Music Awards, a big thing. All the major Creole artists in the world, let them come to Dominic and receive the awards and jam some music. Then, of course, I think it's time that we have a World Creole Music World Tour. It's about time. We've been having a World Creole Music Festival in Dominica, but I'm thinking myself, it's about time we have a World Creole Music World Tour, so that our artists can go out there and mingle with the big guns and compete with them and show that we can compete. I believe the Cadence Lipso Bouillon Festival that just took place was meaningful, was substantial, and that should be an annual event on the calendar of a Dominica Festivals Corporation. I think the Jazz and Creole Fest is a good one. And then, of course, the World Creole Music Festival itself, the big one. I believe these are my sort of quick 6 that I'm putting on the table. We can look at them later. We'll discuss the merits of any one of them. But I mean, isn't it time that for Dominica's cultural industries to be organized? That's the point I want to make. Organized and structured to contribute meaningfully to work and wages and wealth for Dominican artists, musicians, and entertainers, and to also contribute substantially to our national revenues and to our GDP, just like tourism or better. Uh, in order to, somebody's mic is open and I'm getting a little noise coming back. If you could turn your mics off, so that will help to reduce some of the noise. So in order to, all of that I'm saying in order to benefit everyone in all sectors. And I believe if cultural industries really get going and really well structured and bring people in, all the various sectors will benefit from that. Some people say that tourism is everybody's business and everybody benefits in some way. I think more people would benefit from cultural industries. And so I'm not going to mention all of the sectors, but certainly some of them, as we know, include hotels and transportation and restaurants and farm workers, because the farmers would make money and all of that, music writers and producers, artists, entertainers, musicians, or the professional entrepreneurs. I mean, and basically this would provide traffic for any international airport that we build, more traffic of people coming in. So my question is Dominica going to follow the example of our sister Caribbean countries like Jamaica and Trinidad? Look at what Jamaica has done with their reggae. Look at what Trinidad has done with their calypso. Look at how far Mighty Sparrow went and contribute to the development of a forward-thinking modern economy and society that will put Dominica's talent first and go global and benefit all Dominicans. Question is, are we going to go that way? So Leroy, Wadix, Charles, Ronald Lander, when he joins us, Derrick, Peters, Dr. Thomson, Fontaine will help us unravel some of those things and find the answers to them to see whether they're good ideas or not. They will share their own ideas, and you will share your own ideas with us as well on some of those topics there. And we will discuss the good, the bad, the ugly, and the dangerous, as usual, with no anger, with no malice, no personal attacks, no vilification, no divisiveness, just bringing back the civility. We have to start talking to each other and exchange ideas. It doesn't matter who takes the ideas and runs with it. It's once there's good ideas, take it and run with it. So no personal attacks, no vilification, no divisiveness, just bringing back civility, a caring society and a progressive governance. And then, of course, recognizing the imperative for the true resilience and sustainability of our Afro-Caribbean and Kalinago brothers and sisters. So your voices at home and abroad take priority tonight. Call in, tell us what you think of an annual budgetary allocations for cultural industries and what do you see from your own perspective as the solutions for the way forward for Dominica's artists. So please stay with us in this space tonight for another great debate and get the answers to your questions. Be part of the solution wherever you are in Dominica, in the region, and globally. Join us tonight on the Global View on Q and have your say as you do every Tuesday with me, Mr. G, and only on Q95, the big station. But just before we start, as usual, we say a huge shout out and hugs and much love and appreciation. And a big thank you to our healthcare providers and frontline workers. I know they're doing their best to keep us safe, and we should take their advice and stay safe and stay alive. So happy to have you with us tonight. Welcome you warmly and embrace you wherever you are, in every nook and cranny, in every village, every community in Dominica, in the region and globally. And thank you, Sherwin Norris, keeping us on the air, as always in crystal clear liquid stereo. Thank you, Thomson, on the console tonight. Directing the traffic, Lambie is not with us tonight, but certainly Thomson will ensure that we will get your calls out there and we will hear from you and engage you in the discussion. The people's voice take priority tonight. So let's get started. I want to go first to do an overview of Dominica's overall economy and to see where cultural industries fit into that, like every other industry, like tourism, like agriculture, like agribusiness, like manufacturing, like renewable energy-based industries, like tourism, like knowledge-based industries. So I want to see where cultural industries fit into that for export purposes to really enhance our GDP and our revenue and to keep our economy going, put more money in circulation, right? And put money in the pockets of our musicians, artists, and entertainers. This is what so let me just go over to Thomson Fontaine. So Thomson, maybe you can open up your mic and let's give us a little overview before I go to the very Prince himself, Prince Wadix, to start talking about the cultural industries and the Razwa.
Yeah, well, good evening, Sheridan, and of course to Ryan, to Wadix, my buddy and schoolmate, classmate rather. Yeah, we go a long ways back. So what a privilege it is for me tonight to be here and to be joined as well by several persons already. Sheridan, several comments are coming in on
Right,
the Facebook already, fast and furious. There, quite a lot of interest, of course,
right,
being generated by this particular topic. And as you rightly pointed out, this is something that we should be looking to do. The entertainment industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry the world over, and given the level of talent in Dominica, given the level of expressions that we've seen in our history, the historical expressions, you have one of the key proponents there, Peters, with the Canos music and the bouillon and so on. We have something that we need to package to the world, but like everything else, it has to be done in a manner that is professional, in a manner that can encourage people to be a part of it. You're talking about the whole spectrum, from having museums of the music that the younger generations can be a part of. I mean, in the US, for example, you have the museums for rock and roll music. You have the Hall of Fame rock and roll. You have country and western. We can do the same here, so that when visitors come, they can go and listen to the history of the music, see how it evolved over the years, and the fact that Dominica is a very unique position. I mean, zouk is a very popular genre of music across the globe, and to think that the DNA, it was birthed right here in Dominica. That is something that we should be able to capitalize on. So I'm with you on the view that we should be doing a lot more. That in fact we should have a minister for the arts that would be able to promote the arts and really make sure that there are resources in the budget on a yearly basis, that is committed resources for the promotion, and to really help push the cultural industry of ours. It's rich, but we have it all to ourselves, and we can do better. We can capitalize on it. We can make money from it, the same way we make money out of agriculture, the same way we make money out of tourism. We can make hundreds of millions out of the tourism, out of the cultural industries, and in particular our music. And as an individual aspiring to be in the political arena, that is one of my critical areas of focus. I believe that this is something that we have to put a lot of emphasis on. It is something that we can gain a lot from, and it's something that, if done properly, can bring a lot. And also, to give opportunities to our young people, talented young Dominicans in music and in the cultural and in the arts, that we can actually help them to earn a living from. It's an industry, but it can only be an industry if it is nurtured as such, if it is given the encouragement that it deserves at the very highest level.
Thomson, extremely well said. I mean, we have to start off this way because, look, whenever we come here on this program on the Global View on Q, we discuss big ideas, we discuss big things, we go global. Yes, Dominica is a small piece of rock in the globe. It's only about, let's say, an average of 15 miles wide by 20 miles long. That is all we got. We only have about maybe 70,000 people. But listen, today, you're going to have a Silicon Valley in Dominica that's bringing in millions of dollars just from the knowledge industry. Because all people are bright. If you train them properly and give them the opportunities and bring the industries to them, they will stay right at home. They don't have to go to New York City to work for these big corporations. They can stay right in Dominica and do that. Same way these guys, most of the guys in the Silicon Valley are not Americans. Many of them come from India and they're all over the place. So in fact, we can do it. I believe the same thing applies to our cultural industries. I've listened to I paid very close attention to the Cadas festival that we had. We saw all this talent that we a lot of people didn't know about, many people had forgotten about. And we listened to the Cadas music, and there were all types of Cadas music across the spectrum, the fast beat, the slow beat, the love music, the soft side of it is all there. I mean, it's all there to charm the world. But the point is, we have to package it. Let's take a leaf from Jamaica. Look at what they did with the reggae. Reggae is now all over the place in movies and Disney and everything. I believe our music can be accepted. The fact that Jeff Joe, Wadix will tell us about it, could make the halftime show, and in the American football arena. I mean that tells you our music can go somewhere if we really create the industry, just like Jamaica did, package it, and really have confidence in our artists, musicians, and entertainers. We have to have confidence in their talent, and I think that they want what is good for themselves, and I think they will do it if the opportunity is there. It's just like people in our construction sector. If we give them a chance, they will do it. In agriculture, they will do it. I believe our musicians and artists and entertainers will do it. Look at Leroy Wadix, Charles. As I introduced Leroy Wadix, Charles, they call him Prince Wadix. Here's what I want to say about him tonight. Years ago, when we started the Creole Music Festival, I saw the talent that he had. We chose Eddie Toulon to be the executive director of the Dominica's Festivals Commission. Wadix was the understudy in Eddie. The intention was Wadix would eventually do the job because he has the skill. The fact that we saw Wadix in action, let me tell you something. It's not easy to do what he did there, this month of activities there, to have these 3 nights of shows. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. When we did that, we had all like, well, what I remember, we had 50, 60 people involved in all aspects of the thing.
Yeah.
This industry is a big thing. Wadix, I want to go to you because I want to see how you see the cultural industries being packaged and structured and how you see them fitting into the global economy.
I just want to say good evening to everyone listening to the Global View. And it's a pleasure to once again be in the company of such illustrious sons of the soil. My classmate, Thomson, Fontaine, going way back. Derrick Peters, my buddy for several decades, and Mr. G, waiting for round, but Mr. G actually, like you said, we did several work actually before the World Creole Music Festival. One will remember the great Savant Tree, that is where Cots is presently located. We brought the dance party Dominica to the world, thinking of taking the arts, and we're talking about the 90s. Already things were looking in a different direction. The normal arts and culture of Dominica was taken to a different level, was televised, was then shown on national television. The vision was there. To actually answer your first question about whether there should be budgetary arrangements, yes. I do think so, and I think in a positive way, in a holistic way, in a way where we can bring several of those technocrats in the cultural industries, and we must differentiate. The difference culture is the way we live, and the cultural industries may vary from entertainment to craft to whatever, but we're particularly dealing with the entertainment. There are lots of people, including the musicians, the managers, the operators, the whole technocrats of the music industry. I think most times they are left out until there is a gig or there is an event. But I think we need at this point in time to take a holistic approach and get these people more involved. Why? Because they played the music, some of them studied the music, some of them know the actually infringements in the copyrights business into the music. Some of them actually have a global view, a global picture of what they would love to see the industry, the entertainment industry is like. We all dream, we all have visions. But if constantly we allow this music or entertainment to be like a little thing, or when we feel we're ready for it for Carnival, or we're ready for it for independence, I think we are missing the boat. And I think we should actually take this thing more serious. And why I say so, see what it has been doing for the French islands just close to us. See what it has done for Jamaica, for Trinidad, for Barbados. Music from Dominica influenced Trinidad, and Trinidad has gone so far with it, they call it soca. They are now saying Dominica had absolutely no influence. Who is Dominica? For them, who is Dominica to influence the soca? And this will work because we have not applied ourselves, we have not pride ourselves, We have not actually stamped our authority as a true musical and entertainment force. And I think for us to do that, we have to take it from the top and start to think in a massive way of how we can take this thing to the next level. You said several areas I agree with Mr. Gregoire. We need to have a calendar of major activities. And like you said, Carnival is one. I mean, we already have the festival, we already have Jazz and Creole. Possibly we could add in, but I also think because we have the Cadence Calypso, we could have a major bouillon festival. I'm talking about a major bouillon revival, festival, a renaissance. I also think the awards, the Creole Awards, is a magnificent thing. Why? Because we are the headquarters of Creole entertainment in Dominica. And if we want to prove to the world, yes, we are truly the Creole capital, we should have the Creole Awards. I think we were thinking of that direction 25 years ago at the inception of the festival, because already formed was a federation. And sometimes you don't want to go back, but then already the vision was already global. I mean, the millions of people in the Creole world just around us, we happen to be fortunate to be in that Creole world where we have the World Creole Music Festival, the envy of the entire Creole world. Now, 25 years ago, the vision was to actually have things like the Creole Awards. We had a federation then set up with people from all the Creole world represented. Already they wanted to have a piece of the Creole Festival. We could have actually enlarged that. We could have endorsed that. We could have brought that to a different level, whereby now, I mean, just maybe a small percentage from the government would be coming. But the majority of the funds for the festival, maybe 10, 15, 20 million, would be coming from the whole Creole fraternity, because they would all be feeling part of it. They all would be able to send possibly a representative band from it. But then the most important thing, they would be claiming it. And that is what we think of when we talk about global and taking our music to a different level. It is not just about the little gigs here and there, because we are fortunate. See our population. We created two genres. We can safely say we created two genres. That means we have talent. We have potential. But what are we doing with those two genres? And we're referring to a holistic approach to taking these two genres to the world. You know, I mean, for instance, Gordon said once, he saw bouillon could be like the world's greatest carnival music because of its prevalence and the way it gets people to move. And anybody in the world, look at where you are in the world, and you're requesting a carnival music, you come to Dominica, you send to Dominica. If you want the best in carnival music, you come to Dominica, you approach Dominica. But then we cannot just do these things by just talking. We have been talking for so long, we continue to talk. I think the time has reached where you have to put resources into the industry. Let us, first of all, get a positive structure. Legitimize the legislations, and then let us put something, the situation where you have the DFC and DSC have a board, and then on that board, then you have DDA that can counteract anything the DFC. Let us have something serious where we can say X amount of money is allocated to that particular industry, and let us see how we can take this thing. We have a structured format, and we use our formula. We have all inclusive with all the various stakeholders. And let us see how we can actually, this is going to propel Dominica to a different level, because after every disaster, after every hurricane, I can tell you from Hurricane David, you know what happened soon after Hurricane David? There was a massive jam at the Portersville Savannah. I'm not sure if you remember Thomson Mountain with Tabu Combo. That is what we have. Remember, hurricanes can take everything else, our houses, but we cannot take over what that belongs to us. God gave that to us, and we have it in abundance. What are we doing with these talents that God has given to us? Are we utilizing it in the right format? Are we making the money out of it that we're supposed to make? Are we going in the direction where every single artist now can possibly own a home and at least retire comfortably? To do that, we must have a positive industry, well structured, and and legitimize it. It's not just saying it and say, every time we come and we say it. We have to actually put it together and let us put people that are appropriate, that can get it to move. That's my opening statement, Mr. G.
Yes, and let me just I let you go on this one. Before I go to Ra, I want to engage you one more minute there. I want to refresh your memory because you said something there, and you said you don't want to go back. But sometimes it's good to go back, and the person who's sitting right next to this man, they call him the Neg Mao man.
Yeah.
He's the guy who goes back and looks into our history and tell us what we used to do that was good, and that we might have forgotten. Other people might have influenced us to move away from it for whatever reason. He's saying we need to own that and come back to it and take charge. That is our stuff. If you'll recall, Wadix, when we started doing the World Creole Music Festival, we registered this not-for-profit foundation called the World Federation of Creole Cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good night. Good night.
Good night, Ronald. How are you doing? You want to put your shit on? Anyway, I
realized I was on.
Well, you can turn off your video if you'd like while you go on. And so here's what I'm saying, Wadix. We thought about this thing. We established what we call the World Federation of Creole Cultures. It was registered. I think two people. I'm not sure if it was Gordon and Rabes and Sobers, but two people. We asked two people to register that.
Yeah.
Also registered another one called the World Creole Cultures Foundation.
Yeah.
I remember I registered that.
Yeah.
There's another organization that was registered called FAME. Dennis Joseph started that. We never registered it, and when we formed the committee later, we registered FAME, Foundation for Artists, Musicians, and Entertainers.
Yeah.
That's how serious the vision was. Now, here's the other vision that we talked about. We said Creole is not just the language, it's the whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
So all these countries, even Cocoa is Creole, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Trinidadian language, the Jamaican language, all of that is Creole. But we move beyond the language and we look at the totality of Creolity.
Yeah.
And one of the things we said we did, in fact, we had two of those meetings with the Federation. I remember we got the French, Alliance Française and the French mission in St. Lucia to pay for that. And we had professors coming in from all over the place, from the universities, and people coming in, and we were discussing language and lifestyle and dress and food and art and music. That is what the World Federation of Creole Cultures do. That was supposed to be headquartered in Dominica. So we were bringing the world to Dominica, and Dominica saying this is the headquarters of the Creole world. That is where it's happening. And here's something you might have forgotten, Wadix. We said that what we needed to do was to have a major theater, just like they have for country music, you have Nashville and so on. Major theater, and in a theater you would sit, totally covered. You have a number of stages and all that, and that's where your artists you have a number of rooms where you produce music and you mix and master and all that. So all our producers can go in there and find space with quality material, quality equipment. But you also had shops. The idea was to have shops. All the Creole shops of the world. So all these African countries and all the Caribbean countries, they all have different kind of clothes they make and different kind of foods they cook and different kind of drinks they make. So you have all these exotic things there. So you not just have a stadium, a theater, but you have around that shops that can make money all year round.
Yeah.
So, we're always interested when we started the Creole Festival, interested in vendors and all the little people making money.
No, but just to actually add to you, we were actually thinking of the other islands into the cuisine. We would not, I'm going to allow our festival to be rotated, but then in as much they were so adamant that we say we could allow them to have, let's say, the festival of food, of cuisine, the festival of Creole wear, that sort of thing. And then whilst they participated in all World Creole Music Festival, the whole federation now would support whoever is having whatever festival. So Dominica would be represented strongly in all the various festivals. Because what later happened is a similar Creole festival sprang up in the Seychelles around the same time as us because they celebrate Creole also. And then I said, shit, see what's happening. I mean, because that didn't continue, yeah, Seychelles now doing their own thing. I think Kassav was supposed to headline that festival several years ago. But the most important thing is these other territories, these other jurisdictions would have had their various festivals. So Dominica had that place where we would have been part of all the other festivals. And in terms of exporting, we would have been as far as Seychelles, Reunion, I mean, wherever festivals were held because of that foundation and that networking that would have arrived from that foundation, Mr. G.
Right. So you see, so Wadix, now that we've refreshed ourselves on that, we are saying that these ideas are still very good. In fact, they're the ideas we should go forward with.
Of course.
We want to create the cultural industries and make them make money for our artists or musicians and entertainers. We have to do something, right? And globalize it. We need to bring back the Federation of Creole Cultures.
Of course.
You bring the world to Dominica. Dominica claims it's the headquarters of the Creole world. That's where we were establishing it. So bring the world to us. So Ra, but you see, let us go back again to the industries, Ra. And one of the things I want to say, Wadix mentioned the question of the bouillon thing. When the bouillon started, I mean, Wadix, you and I were around. We remember Ra and Cornell and the sellers going in there and making some serious music.
No, but even before we housed RSB at the cemetery with Lofty Emmanuel.
Right, all of that
before actually Ran, Cornell, and them actually took over because sound system was very prevalent then. But then the whole, and even one must not forget, because even after that, you attempted to do something in Kenfield.
At the zone.
At the zone, right? At the zone. Similar, but then it didn't really materialize and stayed long. But then also the vision was there to, most of all, showcase. What we don't have is enough of our showcasing of what belongs to us. We don't have it. Well, unfortunately, the Rock House of Culture is still being refurbished, but then we don't have adequate, we don't have enough of that visual presence. Thank God for Facebook, but then we need to have it on a quality. For instance, our music. Are we satisfied with the end product? And I'm talking about the end product of the quality of what we export. What an MP3 would be when you play it alongside the other genres. You know what I mean, Thomson? Are we satisfied? Now, if we are satisfied, it's okay, but I am not. I think from where we were to where we should be, one of the things we should be, whatever comes from Dominica, have a particular quality, and including, most importantly, our music. You know, the MP3s that we allow to be sold anywhere should have a particular quality in terms of alongside any other genre. And I'm not sure where we're lacking, whether it's it is engineering or if it is the studio technology. But that's one of the things, if we have to build an industry, quality is one of the critical aspects of it.
Well, in order to get the quality, we have to invest. That's where the budget comes in, because you're going to have to have equipment. You have to train your technicians, and you have to be internationally competitive. So you have to compete with the equipment they have. You're going to mix and master and so on. You have to have equipment so that's suitable for that, give you the best quality, and you have to have people who know how to mix and master. We have some very talented producers in Dominica and Dominicans outside of Dominica. All they need is the opportunity and they need the exposure. And they will outdo anybody else. If you put them on the same platform to get the same training as everybody else, they will come up on top of the class. That's what our students are doing right now everywhere in the world.
And I would like rather comment, Mr. G, and why. We live in a real world, real life situation. SASEM, and I was told so by Gordon Henderson, have a special fund for what happened during COVID-19. SASEM. Have a special fund, reasonably enough while you are not working, so that the musicians, the entertainers can be compensated. The producers, the composers can be compensated. Now, if we were taking this thing seriously, whilst we're going through this tribulation with COVID, the musicians can't perform because of the type of virus. They would have been benefiting tangibly from this 2-year period. They would have to be all also going to be playing 2 and 3 jams a night. They'll be adequately. And from what Mr. Henderson told me, he feeling like boy Messi stay not working for a while because it was so, tangible enough. But this is the kind of direction we should be thinking. People felt that Young Bull was mad when he said the Calypso Association would have an insurance fund. But then we have to think in this direction if we have a proper industry, Thomson Fontaine. But I'd really like to hear from Ra because he has been quiet and taking down his notes. And I know from Kadas to, not even Kadas, I think it's that in the reggae, rooftop connection and then Kadas. Ra!
I want to go to Ra because you see, it's important to go to Ra. You see, Ra, remember, Ra is a fellow who started something. Ra and Cordell and those guys started something. It's important for us to hear from them because when you create something, it takes a lot to create something new.
Yes.
And when people create something, you have to respect that.
Yes.
Now, I want to remind Ra of something. When you all started Ra, one of the things I loved about what you all did is your lyrical content. Your music had a story behind it. Simple, but it had a story, just like Kadas. Always had a story in it. I remember when you all started. Let's talk about this a little bit, Ra. You need to turn on your mic. Open up your mic.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thanks for having me on the program. I'm kind of really excited to be among such great and the type of words and vocabulary being used there. I have to get myself in order. So, I'm really privileged to be here tonight. But what I want to talk about, first of all, the amount of talent that we've got in Dominica. And first of all, let me say good night to the audience as well, and I have to be backtracking. But no, it's the amount of talents that we have in Dominica, and I figure that we, kind of treat that with no love and respect. For instance, we just had the funeral of Miss Sonia Lloyd, and I watched that and I feel, a little heartbroken to see a person that put in so much effort in Dominica culture, and we're talking about so much culture and nature island and all those kind of nature stuff, and but no, we don't really appreciate our first resource, which is the people, and I mean the numerous amount of talents. As I made this song Too Shoot Too Flam, that everything we have we trash it away, we never save anything for a rainy day. I mean, so many things that we have we cannot count. When we tell some soul, they stretch them snout. Look at them. Can you believe? Is it that a type of life that we live? So when I write real to go back to you, Mr. G, because it's a real story, and I can only talk about that things that I have inside, like other artists could I express only what they know, For instance, we have this guy there, Suki, that just came out there with a song, Some people may say, why, the lyrics is poor, but you have to check from where the guy come from and what he did in the Caribbean, looking at him and seeing what he did, Some people know, they have a good talent and they end up going on drugs, but see what's happening there now. The music is taking him off drugs, So that's the power of Booyah music. Booyah music have a serious power, and we must understand that. I mean, unlike Cadas was born out of Dominica, like in Guadeloupe, but now Booyah music is born in Dominica, pushing our culture. That's the main, the main level. Yeah. And for instance, when you have to send for WCK or Serenade, you have to call Dominica. You don't have to call a place like Guadeloupe or call Martinique. You have to call Dominica. So our whole idea was already marketing Dominica, pushing Dominica as the whole hub, for where the action is. You know what I mean? When you look at it, you'll see when it comes to the economy, you see people used to be coming on a weekend just to listen to WCK in good times, especially, or in Cicero, or you just name it. People used to fly in for the weekend. of course, that we can have a losing that kind of opportunity, because now here comes COVID. You have to test, you have to think, you have to wait, you have to get in here is another problem. You know, you're moving from just from Antigua to Dominica, the kind of a rates that you have to pay, you know, to get to just next door. You know, praise God, we have Val Ferry, and we have Express that could just ferry us from Guadeloupe, you know, to make it a little cheaper and stuff like that. But on your first question on the thing of the government, or whoever it is, putting in, you know, or in the budget, where is government,
The budget.
yeah, putting in something in the budget for culture, music especially, because that's where I concern. Yeah, I love culture on the whole, but now let's narrow down to the music, right? Booyah music especially. The other day they said they had a budget, you know, especially for music or whatever it was, but now up to a day like today, we can't see not one red cent coming from that, you know. They had something saying, oh, you have to reach out to the bank to see if you get a loan of no interest and all that kind of a thing, but that wasn't in the interest of the musician. We had the first tragedy where we had the problem with first it was, what was before Maria? It was Erica.
Erica.
Yeah, there was Erica. Then the real mashup was Maria. Then, you know, for instance, a person like me, and maybe people may be fed up of hearing me talking about that, you know, I lose 100% of my equipment. My equipment costs about 70,000 US dollars, 70,000 of equipment, because I had studio equipment, I had like band equipment and stuff like that, and everything lost. And so many times they ask, you know, to bring in something so we could see, you know, if they could help and stuff like that. Up to a day like today, we can't see nothing. So really and truly about the being included in the budget as musicians, as culture, performing arts, creative arts, whatever it is, a chunk of the pie should be cut off for that area, because I mean we really suffering, and to see that we doing it basically on our own, you know, and you see the amount of musicians that come into the fold, and certain people finance those people coming in, whereas you have DFC and all the other different organizations that's supposed to be helping, but we don't see that helping. We don't see that happening at all. For instance, you have the festival, and I think the festival, Creole Festival we're talking about. The purpose of the Creole Festival, and if I'm wrong, you could correct me, Mr. G, was to strengthen your local based musicians. And it started off pretty well. It started off good. But after a while, it just turned to, I don't know what it is right now. Right now, the local musicians cannot even, you know, unless it's a chosen few, they can get on the festival. And it's not that they're not qualified, it's not that their music not up to par. Like Mr. Wadix was saying, like the song. And so if you have to really compare the song, because I could talk about the studio song right now. For instance, my son is producing Ajmal, you know, Skyo Beats, you know, Boyo Kitchen. He's producing right now. And if you hear the quality of song that coming, and is looking at the type of equipment that he have, you know, getting off that song, I think the guy is supposed to be commended. And it's not because it's my son. And you have other guys as well, producers, that are putting it out like that, you know. So we need a serious budget, you know, part of the budget to be allocated to the music industry, especially if we are to progress, because we need training, we need better equipment, you know, we need people, you know, that can organize to train other people how to organize, you know, how to run a festival, and of course we have to big up Wadix for the work that is done, you know. Though I was excluded out of the Caras, and I think I played a serious part in the Caras development as well, even though I wasn't right there at the beginning, but no, I came in somewhere towards the end where we produced our album in 1979, where a lot of people that performed wasn't even born as yet on the Caras show. But no, that's not really total water under the bridge, but no, I had to make that point because I figure and I know that I made a serious contribution to the whole development of Caras music, not putting Booyah music aside. And I figure, we're supposed to be like part of it, we shouldn't be kept out, even though it's to sing half a song,
And I agree. Let me just answer Ra. And I agree with Ra. I know that he played. As a matter of fact, I gave him an album, Liquid Eyes, where he sang. You cannot even make all Ra voice compared to what you're hearing now. But in organizing festivals or events, you try not to put everybody one time. For the especially if you have the vision of continuing. Otherwise, when you're ready for the second and the third, it will be just like the vision of the Cadence Festival that before we reached to the World Creole Music Festival, there was a history, The first festival that was conceptualized was a Cadence Festival. And it was felt that there isn't enough Cadence bands to sustain.
And the second one, and the second one was a Zouk festival.
Right, Cadence Zouk. And we felt that there were not enough Cadence and Zouk bands to sustain. That is why it ended up a world Creole, where you can now tap from Creole countries globally to come and not dominate like we see now. Because it's a world Creole with as many genres as possible. There's the Begin we haven't explored. We had exploring the Goka, we had explored Mazuka. Different, lots of Creole. These are Creole genres. I mean, everything is not soca and reggae. Even if Jamaica and Trinidad are Creole, which we can see dominating, the vision wasn't just a big party. It's a showcase, and then we could rub shoulders. Dominica would be the Mecca. We could now have a Creole exchange of ideas of how we can get things to grow. It's like the United States of Creole people. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Something on that magnitude, where everyone now would be helping us in our World Creole Music Festival. So, Ra, yes, you were thought of and you were kept back, like a lot of other guys like Gussie and several others, because if we need to continue, we cannot have the same artists every time. So, yes, you were thought of highly and was kept back like a lot of other artists in the interest of trying to move to the second to make it even better than even the first.
Well, so I
the lines have been going.
Yeah.
The lines have been going for the longest while, and I see people want to wait. All right, so okay, they've left because I guess they were tired of waiting, but constantly. So once they come on next time, I will take them in then.
What you can do, Thomson, just give them the numbers, all of the numbers, and so while you're giving them the numbers, maybe they might call back.
Yeah, sure. All right, so we can take in a few of the calls at this time. The number 449-3095, 3096, 3097. If you're calling on the DG line, 616-4257. And of course, if you're calling from overseas, 305-432-9624. That's 305-432-9624 or 347-349-7431. So we're happy to hear from you. And of course, Mr. G, we have quite a number of persons who have been sending notes on the Facebook live link. One person is suggesting, though, that if there is a budget for musicians, that the musicians will no longer be independent, but they will be dependent on the government. So that person is not too much in favor of having a budget as you indicated.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that person. We'll explain that.
We'll explain that, sure. Somebody else is saying that the whole Creole Music Festival maybe it should be renamed the Reggae Festival with a twist of Creole, because we seem to have moved away from the Creole culture. Um, Someone else says that musically Dominica is the most diverse in the region, bar none. The problem is that we as a people do not accept and appreciate what is ours. Unlike Jamaica and reggae or Trinidad and Tobago and soca, we have never really appreciated our calypso. Wadix has done a superb job over the years promoting and preserving Canas music, yet we tend to gravitate more to the foreign music. And someone commenting on what Wa says that I agree with you, Wa, but the Bouillon brothers have come serious in terms of lyrics. Our people are in trouble, so check it out. But apart from that, you all cool. All right, so somebody certainly liking what is going on. Later on, we'll take some more of those comments. Quite a lot coming in on the Facebook Live, Mr. J.
Yeah. So Thompson, as the calls come in, just interrupt us and take the calls, right?
Okay.
No, but I want to come back to you because I want to defend Ra. And then, of course, I want to say at the same time, while I'm defending Ra, I want to tell Ra and Wadix, when I spoke about budget, I'm not talking about $500,000, I talk about a lot of money. Because you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in hotels, and they're going to employ a certain number of people. Obviously, they're going to bring in a certain amount of revenue in the country, which is good. I believe the cultural industries can bring in a lot more than that. I mean, can you imagine, Wadix, when you had the first Creole Music Festival, we got a small budget from Timothy. That didn't make us dependent on the government.
Exactly.
We brought in more money than that for the government from
Head tax.
departure taxes.
The departure tax.
And from VAT, because everybody was spending money all over the place, and government was, every time people spend $1, the government take a bite of that. So if the government put $10 million into the cultural industry, that's a drop in the bucket compared to what's going into tourism and what's going into hotels and so on now. I don't think we should be shy about saying that there should be a meaningful budget. And you see, I'm saying this now because I have a fellow here right there with us. They call him the Negmao guy. And he is hoping to be the prime minister of Dominica one of these days. I want to put it to him right now. If he is the prime minister, we're going to be asking for $10 million for our artists, musicians, and entertainers in Dominica. They should be big men too. It's not just people in tourism that should be big fellas going around with their house and the this and the that. I believe our artists and musicians and entertainers, they deserve, just like our farmers and all of our technocrats, they deserve to be somebody. I mean, look at what Ra's son is doing. I mean, he's doing it all on his own. He's investing thousands of dollars on his own. I mean, we need to help just because we're helping tourism, we're helping hoteliers, we're helping all kind of people. So the point is we have to get creative and we have to get serious. And that is why I asked Dr. Fontaine initially to position our cultural industries among all the other major pillars of our
Yes, indeed. Mr. G, I know Ron is also on the line, but before that, we have a caller. Caller, go ahead, please, and thanks for your patience.
Yeah, greetings. Good evening to the panel, Kofi. I could say greetings and blessings to the Prince Wadix, Mr.
Blessings, my brother.
Dr. Fontaine, yourself, Mr. Dr. Ronald Lander, and the big man himself, the original Hold'em, Rap himself.
I don't have a doctorate, only have a master's.
Very, very interesting. And I listen foreign, but I'm always concerned about, the way our musical industry, our cultural industry, and things of culture is being addressed in Dominica. I mean, like Brass says, it's always a too short, too flat. And you all spoke about the budget for that aspect of our culture and arts and so. And you all are very right. We pump a lot of money that cannot bring back revenues to us into all sorts of things, like monuments, the things that just sit there and they cannot regenerate anything. And we tend to or seem to bypass our human resource, our greatest resource from every aspect. Whether it's education, culture, art, everything. And you all are very right, man. But I'm listening, and I probably have, if I can get on later, I'll have maybe some suggestions and so. But for now, I just want to say, great program. I'm listening, and each and every one of you guys just keep putting the fire to the iron, man. one day it's going to bend.
And
All right.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
All right,
Appreciate
thanks a
it.
lot. Appreciate it.
Thompson, if you have any calls, just interrupt us and take them.
Yes, I
because
will do so for sure.
from the people. But Thompson, I want to go back to you because you see, you're a man who understands numbers, and I'm waiting for Ronald to settle down because he seems to be moving around quite a bit. I don't know what he's moving around like that for. I'm waiting for him to settle, take his notes, because I know when he start, he'll have a mouthful for us. So Ronald, I'm going to come to you in a minute. But Thompson, you understand numbers, and you understand economies, and you understand how major sectors, pillars of an economy can contribute to the GDP, can contribute to work and wealth and so on for the people. I believe if we look at the cultural industries properly, you know what it contains clotheslines of clothing, it contains cuisine. Look, Thomson, can you imagine if we can export 1 million crabacks at $10? That's $10 million. Crab, everybody wants crabacks everywhere in the world. I don't know why we have a crab season and an off season. Why don't we just cultivate all the crabs in the natural habitat and then just let crabs grow like crazy and just export a lot of crabacks? Everybody in the world love our crabacks. They love our music. I'm saying let's do something about it. So let's just not act as if the cultural thing is a little side show. It's not. Look at what happened to this young lady called Rihanna. She's a billionaire today because there's a guy called Jay-Z who discovered her. Look at where she is today. She's a billionaire, right? So Thompson, because you understand those things, I'd like to get your comments on positioning these cultural industries for what it can generate and contribute to our GDP, but also the government revenue.
You know, Kofi made a very important point. Kofi made a very important point when he says that sometimes we invest in things that do not have a return. And to me, it's a no-brainer. It's a cost-benefit type of reasoning, all right? You look at how much it's going to cost and what's the benefits you're going to derive from it. And in the case of our cultural industries, the benefits will outweigh every single day, will outweigh whatever cost, whatever you put in, you will get a reward for that. Your return will be over and above your level of investment. So that to me is a good investment. Anytime you can invest and get more than you put in, it's a good investment. And not only that, we'll be investing in the young people in particular. We'll be investing in the talent of Dominica. I mean, I did an interview with the Gramax band recently. And these are guys who learned to play on the fly. These are guys who decided one day that they were going to play music and spend the time practicing and learning as they went along. Just the natural talent, not reading music necessarily, playing by ear, but just the natural talent. And that is throughout Dominica. We've seen it over and over again in the young musicians, but they need to get that outlet. And I think that it is high time that the emphasis is placed on that, because you can make money out of it. You can not only make within the local economy, obviously, but also externally. That is a major export that we can look at. And I think it's time we begin to have those type of conversations. The World Creole Music Festival has been kind of stagnated. It has kind of, I think, gone off course. We can get that back on course and think of how we can make it even bring more reward, more return to Dominica. So yes, Mr. G, I'm with you on that. We can do a lot more, and we need to do a lot more. And the way you do that is by positioning the industry with all of its history, all of its rich history, positioning that so that the people can be able to benefit from it. They'll be able to do their recordings. They'll be able to reach out to the world. And who knows, we might be able to have a Rihanna right in our own Dominica.
Well, yes, I'm seeing it every day. Now, some people on Facebook may be also commenting on this as well. I haven't checked. You can check and see, Thomson. But the point is that nobody's excluding reggae from Creole music. Remember, Wadix, when we started, Creole music was all of this music. Remember, we had different.
We had Roughneck. We had Roughneck from Martinique playing reggae.
Yes, but we had Zouk, we had Soukous, we had Cadence, we had all the various genres when we started. This is all of the mix of Creole music. So nobody's excluding reggae. What I'm saying is that Cadence and Bouillon can become just as big.
Yes, indeed, Mr. G. Yeah, you talked about a comment about the reggae. Somebody, in fact, is saying that no matter what we say or do, we just can't keep reggae artists down. Reggae is the heart of Black people. Yes, Cadence, Calypso, and Bouillon is all good, but remember, nobody can stop reggae. Very soon, someone from Dominica will ride the reggae train, and remember, all that started somewhere, someplace. So we must involve reggae on the train. There are too many reggae artists in Dominica, but we must also at the same time promote the Cadas and the Buyo.
No, I love reggae.
No, but look at our Nasio Fontaine.
Love reggae.
By the way, the late Nelly
Right.
Star, sang at the First World Creole Music Festival. But then
Right.
just to go back for a second, on the 3 nights that we experienced last weekend, 21 hours of 99.9% of Dominican music. We just had, as a matter of fact, one, because there was an issue with one of the French guys, but one French guy only performed 3 songs. So in 1,260 minutes, you can minus 15 minutes for that one artist. There was 100% Dominican talent on display, from Creole dance, Creole folk singing, Dominican legends against, not against, but in combination with the younger artists. That was 3 nights of Dominican music. And sometimes we are not saying we shouldn't include the best of the Creole world. But sometimes, like Ras saying, we have to also look here and see what we can do with here. Because every other island have their music industry. What about our music industry? What are we doing for? It is good that we can invite a Jamaican or Trinidadian, but that money goes out. We have Nasio of equal quality. Who are we to say what will not become of any of our other artists if they're given the exposure? You understand where I'm coming from? We continue to allow everything else to be better than ours, yet still we expect ours to grow. It's like saying Chiquita bananas are better than ours, and we expect our bananas to survive.
Mr. G, we have a caller. I know you want to go to Ron, but can we take this caller, and then we'll go across to Ron.
By all means.
All right. Caller, good evening. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, brother. Good evening to all panel. Greetings.
Yeah, greetings, my brother.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Yeah. I wanted to interject, a bit, because, and especially regards where Ra and Wadix kind of summed. You see, a lot of times when we talk of developing things in Dominica, I notice we don't really think of it as a sector, We have more for reactionary process. And I compliment the World Creole Music Festival, not in its current iteration, but the original idea in that I think these guys really understood that we're building a sector, a whole economic sector, and I think that kind of vision of how we work in Dominica has been lost. We have a reactionary kind of process to things, We were thinking the other day about this whole Buyo thing and comparing it to Jamaica and reggae. We had a nice sit down up here and talked about it. And one of the things that is very critical in Jamaica that has made things successful is the schooling sector. The schooling sector. You cannot talk about developing a serious cultural entertainment industry without a serious conversation about education. And so where the kids becomes part of their routine at school. Singing becomes them. Learning to write songs becomes them. We have to develop that kind of thing for it to really. While we can talk about all these big things, if we do not have that kind of medium that really enables the maturing of these, especially while they're young, when their minds are in that creative state, we will not pull off that economic sector in terms of cultural development and entertainment. Jamaica, it works. You look at the whole, even the athletics, it works. It works because Manly, how many decades ago, got some Cubans to come and teach Jamaicans how to run, teach them the rudimentary, it became part of their school process. So all the success you see at the Olympics is not yesterday it started. And so I just want us to, as we have this conversation tonight, to think about economic sectors. Think about economic sectors, because I think we don't do that, and we do these reactionary things. We have this momentous thing, but there is nothing to roll and pull up and fool them in and build them up, because we're not thinking of an economic sector. We need 5-10 year plans for those kind of things, not just a festival. Peace and blessings, brother.
All right. Thank you very much, caller.
Thank you very much for that.
And I want to agree with the caller 100%. But the onus is on us. That's why I said earlier there must be a structure. You pull people from all over that are interested in the structure. You must put a structure, and part of the structure has to be education. It's imperative that education has. I mean, Gordon was teaching this recently. You ask a Brazilian child about samba, and they will know. You ask a Dominican child about cadas, they will not know. Why? Because there is no structure. There is no structure in place that from the toddler they learn. Dominic, okay, let's take the Haitians that reside here. The Haitians that reside here, from the time the child is born, they teach the child both Creole and English. So that child, that Haitian aspect of their lives never departs. That Haitian, yes, they are Dominican, they are born here, but they continue to teach that child Haitian Creole and also English. But the Haitian aspect continue to be there. The love for Haiti continue to be there. The love for Compa continue to be there. So it has to be a holistic approach, and that's why I was recommending it cannot just start all of a sudden. There must be a structure in place, and then eventually legislate information so that we can guide ourselves to how we're going to reach the 5-year and 10-year plan. That's basically what I was referring to initially.
Yes, and Wadix, as I bring in Ronald Lander, I wanted to say this. The caller is quite right. Where I am here, all the schools, the basic education is there. I mean, they teach music. You have kids in school going in their guitar, going in their bag with all their hockey thing and all their sports equipment. In other words, music and arts and so on is taught at schools, and they get credits for that, and they get grades, right? So they have exams on that. By the time these guys come to the school, some of them are musicians already, and they're ready to form bands with some of their friends, and they go out there. So he's quite right. Have to start at school. So my son, for example, he used to play. Well, he still plays basketball, but he played for his college. But when he started early in elementary school, he was playing alongside another chap. He was from a different school, but they played together. This chap is one of the fastest guys in the world now, from Canada. He's giving Usain Bolt and those guys competition.
Yes,
they played basketball together, right? And this guy went his way, he went another way. But the point is that right in school, they teach all those things. When I was at school, Clayton Shillingford was my sports teacher. Right? So what happened to all of that? So if we want that foundation, that structure you're talking about, Wadix, the college, right, we have to go back to the schools. But Ronald, I want to bring you in because you're the guy. I think somebody told me you just extended your family recently. You didn't tell us anything.
Congratulations.
I want to take the opportunity to congratulate you on that matter. Thomson didn't tell me because I guess you're all trying to keep it a secret from me. But it might be the opportunity for you to tell us about it now if you feel like it. But Ronald, the topic tonight is really this cultural industries. You were there when we started up this thing at the NBC. You had this vision. What it is we're trying to accomplish. We're trying to set up something major that would have longevity, that would bring revenue to the country, that would create wages and work and wealth for the people, the artisans who are going to be involved in this. I think this vision is still very relevant today. And I think it will be good for people who are listening that if they're involved in this at all, they might want to take on some of these ideas and run with them. It's not too late for us to bring back the structure into this thing. Your thoughts on it?
Yes, good night, everybody. It's a pleasure to be on tonight among distinguished comrades. Sherry, I heard you were a footballer. Your son must have learned the skills from you.
Well, he did.
Whom told me you were playing for white short pants on a wet day and you never got dirty.
That's because I only had one shots. We didn't have much soap at home. I didn't want to have the dirty to have to wash it too often for it to finish.
You were an extremely good footballer. But up front, I want to commend Wadix and Creole Heartbeat for putting together a very excellent professional contribution and production over the last weekend.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Very good, very, very excellent. We need to talk and discuss how we could improve what we're doing.
Sure.
And
No
what was
problem.
around, I spoke to Gordon. I was very impressed with Gordon being around. I was hoping he would be on tonight, and he's not there, but we can continue the discussion. My brother Wadix and Ra is my other very good brother who's on tonight. Very intelligent fellow who made a variation in the musical art form, a good variation, but that variation has diminished tremendously. We look at the origins of calypso in 1970s. I was a teenager in the 1970s, enjoying myself in the 1970s, when the calypso 74 was formed alongside reggae and calypso. But calypso had something very special beyond reggae and calypso. There was a certain variation in the calypso. There was a certain color, a certain depth, a certain melody, a certain musical art form. You saw Exile had a different form of calypso. Grandmax had a different form. Below Men, Midnight Groovers, Bells Combo, all had a different variation of a good quality of calypso. What I want us to keep in mind is the original music art form, be it reggae, be it calypso, be it calypso. There may be variations coming down the road, but the original music art form and the color and the quality of the original art form always remains. Our calypso excelled in the 70s and into the 80s. And there were challenges in the 80s. But in the 80s, we had an administration in Dominica in the 80s that paid no attention to culture and music. However, in the mid-1990s, we looked at developing a Creole musical art form. I came across to the National Development Corporation in 1997 under the management of Sheridan Gregoire. I don't want to say anything more, Mr. Gregoire. I don't say anything more. And I was focusing on, as director of industry, on tourism, plant development, international airport development, agribusiness, more on agro-processing, ICT, small business, and then cultural industries. We saw the cultural industry as an area of opportunity. And then we came up with the World Creole Music Festival, and with calypso as a major building block of the World Creole Music Festival. We saw the variation from WCK and also from First Sheridan in the Creole music coming on with a different art form, and we were prepared to work with that.
RSB
was there with us already. The band from Point Michel. First Sheridan. And we saw variation. And we're prepared to work with that and to build up a Creole industry in Dominica. And my brother, I worked for 12, 16 hours to make sure that was a reality. And we were achieving results. In 1999, when I saw my gate receipts exceeded $1 million, I said, we're in business. And Sheridan, Mr. Gregoire was just coming around and, Ronald, everything is okay? I said, we're in business. But thereafter, from 2000, 2002, things that went astray. We lost our focus on the development of the cultural industry, and we came into a free night of jam. I remember the later stages, your Wadix was the MC on stage, and a reggae fellow was coming on, and they asked Wadix to go out of stage. That was so amazing. What we developed, what we worked on to develop over a period of time, we were losing it. However, I think that what has happened recently with the production of Wadix and the Creole Heartbeat, we need to develop on that. We need to revisit that in a very positive way and see how we could develop on that. I have some ideas as to how we could get our young people involved in the production of Karaslipso. I saw for the 25th anniversary of our independence, there was a development of free CDs of Karaslipso. I think what we can do right now in a very organized way, involving persons involved in developing Karaslipso, to develop another free CDs in Karaslipso and use those revenues we generate to have workshops for young persons, the persons involved now in other musical art forms, involve them in developing our Karaslipso variation. And in so doing, we can get back in developing that industry where people can come into Dominica. And I understood from the last festival, from the Karaslipso Festival, quite a number of people came in to enjoy the festival. We've got to focus on getting the music out of Dominica and getting people into Dominica to enjoy our Karaslipso. So I strongly recommend that we look at a situation where we can develop free CDs, as we did for the 25th anniversary of our independence, of Karaslipso. And what revenue we make electronically or physically, we then can use that money to invest in developing symposiums, using people like Freddie, using people like Gordon, wherever, bringing Gordon, Fitzroy. Fitzroy may have a couple years with us. Jerry, other musicians, Bellamy Bird, bringing those persons so we can train our young people, the young people who are involved in other musical art forms. Let them know that if they have variations, they have a repertoire. They have a repertoire that they can have a greater appeal to persons and to encourage them to play the Karaslipso.
Mr. G, we have a caller.
Let's
Thanks
take
very
it.
much, Ron. Okay, I think the caller was waiting for too long, I guess. All right, we missed it. But Mr. G, just to note, as Ron was speaking, I was thinking of just the tremendous amount that we have. And some time ago, I did a quick survey, not a quick survey, actually. I worked on it for quite a while. And I was able to find out that I traced 55 bands out of Dominica that had produced at least one musical album. 55 over the years, from a population of 70,000 people over the years. I mean, that is just remarkable when you think about it. When you think of the depth, the wealth of talent that you have in this country, and we've not made enough use of it. And I think now is a good time for us to begin to think of how we can harness those resources and how we can really push it out there, and we have to do that. We have to do that because the talent is there. Practically every single village has a band, or you have young men who are aspiring, who are dreaming, who are believing that one day they can make it great, and they're just learning, just learning without even the formal. And that to me is the most striking thing about Dominica, the ability for our musicians to actually just learn on the fly without the formal musical training, but just doing it by ear. That speaks to natural talent, natural ability, and those profusion of bands that I talked about over the years. We have the caller on the line again. Caller, good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. This was very educational. I like the point that was made by a caller with respect to making that
Caller, I'm sorry, but it is very distorted. Can you please call back? It's not clear at all. We're going to ask you to call back, and we'll be happy to have you. Thank you.
But just to comment while we wait on the caller.
Wadix, just now, before you come in, let me just say something very quickly. I don't know where Thomson Fontaine finds the time to do all of what he's talking about, all his research and find all these bands. This is a man who is out there advising a whole country at a full-time job. I don't know where he finds time to do anything else, but he still finds time to write about our Negmao. He still finds time to do some research and come up with all this information about our bands. Thomson, I think it's about time that you came back home and to help us to take our country to the next level.
Well, I'm here now, right?
Yes, all right.
The caller is back. Can we take the
yes.
I guess the caller got tired of waiting.
Right. But what I wanted to say, Wadix, is this. I want to add something quickly before you come into, and you'll give me your views on that.
No problem.
What Ronald said. Ronald talked about the cadres, and I think it's great idea.
I'm going to interrupt you because the caller has been persistent and we'll
right ahead.
Yes, caller, go ahead, please. Caller, go ahead, please.
Yes, are you hearing me better?
Yeah, you're nice and clear now. Thank you.
Right, good. Let me say it's a very educational program and, very informative as well. I heard a caller made a point with respect to talking about making this cadres culture thing something of an economic way for a way of life for Dominicans. I think that's a wonderful idea, but I think we are missing the boat a lot. Take, for instance, we have been calling Granby the cultural capital of Dominica. We know that, Chobby and the group, like Midnight Groovers, they have been in that cadres music for a very long time. When last was a stage set in Granby, in the Lally, so that when the tourists come, they can be exposed to that. That should be a must go. Granby should be a must go. You must go to Granby so that stage will be set every Wednesday there about this Tuesday, and people will be entertained with that kind of music. You know how much exposure this band would have gotten, and how much of our music would have been exported out of Dominica? This is what we are missing. And with respect to young people, and Wadix made the point that, when people are young, when the young people are young, when they're young, it is nice that you can nurture them, they can get inclined, and they can learn, and they can be educated about the Creole culture and everything else. But when last have we had probably a youth cadres festival competition among the schools? Let the children get inclined, let them learn the Creole language, and then put their composition together, let them get help from artists who know the language and they understand it. And one of the things that hindering young people to participate, the success stories must be told, A lot of young people looking out and they saying, but look, we're talking about music. How many people have been successful? Have I seen that man make a living out of that? Show me what you've got. And that is how they behave, because they say, look, I'm not interested in that because that's not a big thing. They're not seeing the success story. A musician for 40 years, maybe still passing over like a cabo, like a bicycle riding. That is not progress to them. So to inculcate that kind of culture and that driving young people, we have to get at them very early. That's why the schools. And people must understand that when you have something, you have to do hard marketing. Look at, for instance, we marketing our CBI, $93 million. That is in the audit report. How much we do for marketing, for culture, and the cadres music. We have potential. Stop talking about potential. We need to now put that into some action drive and let us get that culture rolling. Let us get Dominica marketed on the global stage, and let us get that music out there so that we can make a good living out of it. And the people who compose and put the music together, they can make a good life out of it. And people, other young people, that will spur young people to get interested because they know then they can make a livelihood out of the whole thing. Very good program, very educational. Have a good night. Thanks for the opportunity.
Excellent.
Thanks if I may, we're talking about for us to. You have something, Tom? Something's coming in.
Let's get this call and then we'll come to you. Caller, go ahead. Yes, caller, go ahead, please.
Good evening, guys.
Good evening. Good evening.
Let me tell you, one of the most important aspects in cultural development in a country depends on the governance of the country. Because every country, I would think, has, if not a cultural development, but they have a group, some organization linked with government responsible for developing culture. In Dominica, we have the Cultural Division. We have the Calypso Association. All right? And it is, I have to express it, but it is very sad that since this administration came into office, nothing new, apart from the culture, apart from World Fair Festival, nothing new has been really developed to improve culture in Dominica. So had it not been for the World Creole Music Festival, it seems that there would have been nothing organized close to that to develop our musicians and the art form in Dominica. Look at where World Fair Festival has gone. It is almost gone. It is almost gone because the emphasis is not there to maintain it, and the interest also is not there to keep it alive. So, Mr. G, you have to get back.
Hey.
I'm not sure as to whether they would accept you, but you might have to get back.
Well, Thomson already.
Thank you very, very much, caller. Right, I know you. Sorry, I interrupted you earlier.
Yeah, no problem.
Ra, let me just. I want you to go on, but I want to put something in your court as you go on as well, because Ronald Landers spoke about the bouillon, about the cadas, right, and three CDs and so on. I think that bouillon can do very well in that same regard, bouillon. But I think the onus is on people like you to encourage some more people to write some more lyrics. I think the lyrical content is where we need to concentrate, because if you listen to country music and reggae music, there's always a story. And when you guys started Bouillon, there was always a story in the song. If you listen to Chubby and Exile One and Gramax, there is always a story. I think the Bouillon music can go very far, but it needs to have that storyline in there. And I think writers need to start writing for Bouillon, like writers are writing for Calypso and for reggae and so on. I just thought I would throw that in, but I strongly believe that Bouillon can go a very long way.
Well, most definitely, with the lyrical content, we know for sure is one thing. I mean, without a doubt, we see what's coming out and what's been lifted up here is like Jesus and Barabbas. So, but we know the situation, but we have to work with it. You know, we have to balance it. You know, it's a tough one, but we have to deal with it. We see the situation where that kind of a situation occurred, right? Where that type of lyrics just start to like dominate the market and stuff like that. I mean, it was clear. I mean, who have eyes will see, and who have ears will hear, and who have skin will feel. Because in the time of WCK reaching there and doing whatever it was doing, serving it also, but most so I'll talk about WCK, you see the lyrical content and where the whole vibe was going. You're seeing, we're talking about culture, we're talking about upliftment, we're talking about empowering, we're talking about history, we're talking about strengthening, we're talking about inspiring. That's the type of lyrics, right, that we were dealing with. Yeah, almost like documenting our whole life, basically. But now, you know, through my same point I was going to bring across is like the lack of support. You check? We need to support one another. We definitely need to support one another and encourage one another, you know, not doing that kind of a thing, just like what's happening in the politics, pulling people one side to that side. If you're not this side, you have to be that side. If not on that side, you have to be on the other side. It's like you cannot be level and say, well, okay, this one doing that, it's right. Even though you're not in favor of them, but this one doing something is wrong, even though you're in favor with them, but you're seeing it doing wrong, but now to point out a wrong and put out, say like it is. So now we were talking about the lyrical content. And we definitely need to revisit that, Of course, it have certain, like they say, sex sales, so that's the big thing right now. You talk about whatever and, that's it gone clear. But we have to remember now, the people and them that were there at the time pushing certain things, even on the radios. You check how they were dealing with the DJs. Sometimes you put out a positive song and it's not going to see the light of day. They're going to squeeze it. They have people there deciding now, they're shelving that, even though it's good, but they're not pushing that. They're going to push whatever is going to be working for them, their personal vibe. My whole thing with lyrical content would be, when you make a song, it have to be something that have a message. It have to have a story, like you say. It have to have something that will be beneficial, like building generational wealth. Those kind of things that we're talking about. But again, you see the music industry is a kind of a phony, or I don't know if dynamic is the word to use for it, but it have certain people, they push certain things. Like, for instance, you have music like the American ones where they do rap and stuff and the hip hop, whatever, and they push certain lyrics in there. And of course, there was some kind of a conspiracy or some kind of a thing will build them where they decide, no, they want to push that type of lyrics because it's going to benefit whoever it was. So it's more we deal and go in depth and study those type of things, then we become more aware. So that is where the whole education things come in, because now sometimes we're just able to play an instrument or be able to sing or to write a song. But now if we don't have proper lyrical content, within us, because you can only bring out what you have within you, get that kind of a lyrical content up to par, where we have people training, teaching people and stuff like that. Of course, artists, you can already tell an artist, oh, write about this or write about that, because now you're going to write about what he feels, what's going to be hitting. So we have to understand that part of it. But to me personally, what really get the band WCK and Boya Music out there in the initial was the kind of a lyrical content, was the orchestration, was the instrumentation and all that stuff, right? So that's what I got it out there. But for some point, and some people may know or don't know, certain people were in certain position and they decide, well, they're pushing that on the DJs and that's what they have to play. And right now you find our kids singing certain songs and we checking over, no, we don't want our children to sing that, but now we in a corner, they're hooling on it. The same song we say we don't, but now we have a festival and we only put in that type of artists because now we have to see exactly what we're really pushing. If we push in the art and the culture, or we just about the money. So we have to make a decision, because some people say it's all about the money, So the art come in a kind of a way where at the crossroads right now, where we decide, okay, what we're doing, we want to develop the art as of something positive that, building generation wealth, educating the generation to come, or we just about the money. And it's clear now we about the money, because I remember a guy in festival, DFC or what they call it, tell me, boy, it's all about the money. We don't care about this, all about the money. It's what I'm bringing in funds. And he was like, it's about the funds and stuff. And one of you all might know what I'm talking about. And I just find it was totally off, because it's just about money. But no, we have to think it's a serious investment we're making in culture. When we have to look at people like Marcus and all the greats, Malcolm and all the greats, what they stood up for, what they believe in, and if they are to come right now and see the kind of a mess we in, they will know what they were fighting for, really, So now we have to understand that, educate, uplift, empower, so we can, have some positive lyrics, which is not only for us, but for the generation to come, because now we have to leave something positive for the next generation.
Yeah,
We
but
definitely have to.
Mr. J, Mr.
I
J,
don't
we
want.
have
Yeah, yeah. Let's take the call.
more,
I'll come back
more
right
callers.
now.
Yeah. Okay. We lost that caller. He's been waiting for a while.
I'm sure I'll come back. Just interrupt
Okay.
the city call.
All right. Well, let's try it again. Good evening, caller.
Dr. Fontaine. Good evening.
Okay, caller, I'm not sure. I'm going to ask if you could call back. It's not clear at all. Please call back. Thank you.
One thing I would like to put to you,
Ronald,
just 1 minute, 1 minute, Sherry. How the bouillon music has gotten so simplified, the quality of the music, and guys don't even sing anymore. Guys talk through the old song. When you all started, people like you, WCK, first Sheridan, the bouillon music was colorful, and guys sang and guys presented a story. But recently, guys don't sing anymore, and the music is so simplified. What can we do about that, Ra?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Thomson. But I want to put.
Yeah, I was going to say that the caller is back. So
Let's
if you
take
take the caller,
Let's take it.
Yes.
Good
Caller,
evening. Good evening. I hope this signal is better now.
A lot better. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening to you, and good evening to the rest of the panel.
Yes.
A caller called earlier and spoke about having a color slips competition at the schools, which is a very good thing. But how many of the secondary school children can write a song in Creole? Even in our parliament, to speak Creole in parliament, it is like committing sacrilege. So here is where we're missing the boat again. I believe by the time that Creole should be taught at the school from primary school, so by the time you reach secondary school, you are very, very fluent in the Creole language. I remember I worked in St. Kitts for a while, and I had a friend in St. Kitts who just loved WCK. And when WCK make that song, maybe Ra could help me with a lot of conch shell in it, about the fish song. I can remember the name.
Bala and Bola and
Conch shell was the name.
And Titiri, right?
Conch shell.
The name is conch shell.
Conch shell was the name of the song, which even propelled a genre in
Grenada. That song was so popular that they came up with something called Balawu. So I was explaining, I was interpreting or the WCK song from the Creole to the English. And then you can see the St. Kitts band was very void of lyrics. So, and Mr. G also made that point, Ra, that you should make an effort to get the people who write in the bouillon song to be more strong in the lyrics of the song, because lyrics goes a very long way up, apart from the melody. The lyrics is an integral part of the song also. So the song should be both lyrically strong, and the music and everything should be right there.
Okay,
thank you very much.
I want to take the first knock at this because I just want to correct. It is not compulsory that a Kada song should be sung in Creole. It's not compulsory. As a matter of fact, Milk and Honey made it number one in Haiti. Number one for several weeks in Haiti. Bring back the milk and honey. So it is not, and there are lots of Kada Slipso songs that were made by several artists. But I also agree with the caller, we should revisit the Creole language, its present state, and try our best to see how we can get it into the schools. Teach it as a language, well, I don't even think it should be a foreign language. It should be a language of ours, like we do alongside the English. Gone are the days when we allowed the European powers to dominate what we learn. According to Sparrow, if he was a smart guy, Jack and Jill went up the hill and all what the long men and so on were doing. We all know what he would have ended up as. we have to, one of the things we are deficient in is to teach ourselves about ourselves. And I heard, I think what Ra talk about Marcus and Malcolm, but even in our Kadas guys, there are lots of lessons they taught us, lots of proverbs, and to me they are our living ancestors. But I want to bring up, because I really don't want to miss this note, I think we need an introspection of where we are musically. We hardly have, how many bands, Bouillon bands do we have, Ra? I don't even think we have 5 Bouillon bands. We have a lot of Bouillon singers, or, well, let me say artists or performers. Some can sing, some can't, some chant, some talk, according to the caller a while ago. Gone are the days when we had Christian musical school. I can tell you now, drumming, authentic acoustic drumming, is an endangered species in Dominica. I can tell that to you categorically. To get drummers who can really drum, not just do their thing on whatever, it's an endangered species. I can tell you hornmen, young hornmen are also an endangered species. We don't have any musical schools. We did something at the Bayfront, but we need it in a covered place, possibly the Barracoon building, where people can learn about all these legends and many more, and listen to their songs. That is how we're going to get this thing off, I went to Jamaica and all of your turn was Jamaican music. You sing Bob Marley this, Bob Marley that, in your face. Why are we afraid to put in your face our legends? Why can't we have an Ophelia, Alawi Ophelia, in Lale, rename Lale, Chubby Street? We have to do these things to elevate the people that really made us, because our music once was the envy of the entire Caribbean. I raised up in the days of Spooge and Ska and like Kaiso, but now Dominica created 2 genres. What are we doing? I think we are taking this thing for granted. We are taking a lot of revenue that can be earned from this industry for granted. And I'm really appealing that we should call all the stakeholders together. Let's formulate. Let's create a proper music industry where, guys can earn revenue from playing, performing, and still from the royalties. So that whilst you are not even playing anymore, you can earn. Your children can continue to earn. You understand? Another COVID wouldn't come and prevent you from playing, and that's it for you for the next year or 2. If we don't take this thing seriously, if we play a blind eye to this, I think we are missing the boat. I think critically, workshops are good, but what about the schools? What about the schools? Something, remember, we learn drama in school. We learn impromptu speaking in the school. We learn debating in the school. We had debating competitions. We had impromptu competitions to learn to speak. You understand? At the school. And we're talking about how many years since we left school. You know what I mean? So I think we need to revisit, sometimes because of the past. And that's why Marcus said, I'll go to Marcus and learn Marcus from Ra. If you do not know where you come from, if you do not know what keeps you there, what have you there, what happened before you, how are you going to know where you want to go, where you need to go? Like a blind man. And that is where I think, the cultural industry should be taken seriously.
That brings us right back to the beginning of the topic, the beginning of the
budgetary.
Yeah. What we need a budget in there, and as you rightfully say, we shouldn't wait for when they reach primary school. Now we're taking them from kindergarten.
Of course, toddlers.
We're starting them from kindergarten. As a matter of fact, we're starting them from them at home.
Yes.
You check? Because the first teachers is the one at home. Yeah?
And you're so right, Rod. The same song you're referring to now with the question lyrics, the same children at home can sing it.
That's the whole thing. Because
you know why? Because it is in your face.
when I learned to sing, is my mother I hear singing, and guess the song she was singing, Precious a strong.
Yes.
Lily, come here.
Yes.
Come here. So when you see I sing certain songs, miss, yeah, get it right. I get it right at home. And look, Thomson there could tell you where we come from. Rosalie is the original spot.
Yes.
Where Auntie Bridget, Fimba, and to name Auntie Bibi, and we're talking about all those that was in the quadrille. We're talking about Bo, you would know, Thomson. When I used to be coming up there, you was a little thing that time. You should know I was a bigger man than you. Yeah. And I used to be coming up there. We was eating seaweed and book and VO, right? Okay, and learning all our cultural vibes right there. So now that thing was ingrown. You check? I grew up with that. I couldn't wait for summer to come for me to go up to the country.
That's true. That's correct.
Just for me to pick up the culture, because my mother introduced us to the country very early from 2 years old. We going up there. As a matter of fact, from baby, we going up there. And we know where River Syriac is. We know where Grand Foy is. We know where Rosalie is. That time the mill was still spinning the water. Right? So now that is deep stuff, you know. So there we're talking about. So you have to learn from the roots. So that's why we're talking about you have
the
to
roots, Ra. We don't value the roots, Ra.
I have a saying
for us, and I'm talking about holistically. The roots is the whole thing.
I have a saying, it's from the root to the fruit.
Well, of course.
You check? We take it from the root, because if it has no root, it has no fruit. So we have to have that vibe going. You know, so when certain people claiming about this and that, about booyah music, the roots, when I born, you know, I started playing at 2 years old. I born with that vibe. So now it just coming up natural. As I tell you, my queen was singing all those songs. When she sing them songs, I pick it up in my subconscious. I had it there. So when I come and I do couple tracks in WCK, whereas maybe think, well, but that's from my root. And I don't know where my mother get the songs.
No, but interestingly, that is how people learn Creole, you know. You learned Creole by hearing it. If you never get exposed to it, you wouldn't be able to learn it.
Well, the other thing about Creole,
you know, during those days, we heard it. Sometimes our parents would use it for us not to understand what they're saying. And because we were so intrigued, we forced ourselves to learn it to find out what our parents were saying. Now, coming back to the recitation, there's a study that was done long telling you one of the easiest ways for children to learn is by singing. We ourselves were taught by recitations. Jack and Jill went up the hill, the cow jumped over the moon, and whatever. If what is being played constantly is the fast food, and I call it fast food because I'm hardly hearing instrumentation, I'm hardly hearing people singing, and I'm hardly hearing a musicality in it. If that is constantly playing, then our children is being exposed to what is constantly playing. I mean, I don't want to be segregation.
As I call it. You know, before we used to have diaper where your mother take it, she wash it, she put it in the pail, and she boil it and stuff like that, and for it to get white. So we call that the renewable, right?
You have to put the blue.
What we're doing now is
blue in it.
What we have is the disposable. We have Pampers now, so it's almost like the same thing happening there now. The musical lacking longevity. You know, as we say, you know, we make forever songs. We don't make songs forever. We make songs that can stand the test of time. You understand? Yes. So now we have to have lyrical content that when you watch the lyrics, that could see, okay, it apply today. You know, a man was talking about we can't stop reggae. But now, remember now, I was more a reggae man than any other thing, because if anybody know our collection, and I don't talking about me personally, but I'm talking about my brother, Lionel Leslie, Lio. When the Rasta movement comes by him, they come and get all their records, all reggae thing, you just name it. We had everything. From Dennis Brown,
we raised up during that period when reggae dominated. Bob Marley, Tosh, Third World as well.
We can even go before that. We can go to Blues Busters.
Yes.
Right.
We can go to Blue Beats. We can go to Blue Beats. You know?
And we'll continue.
Yes.
Caller, thanks for your patience. Go ahead, please.
Hello, good evening to your gentlemen.
Good evening.
Fantastic program. I think we need to speak more about what we have, who we are, and how we will use it to our growth and development. There was a time Dominican music had a very, very bright influence on the region. I remember being in Anguilla once I went to free dances, and in those dances, not big instrument dances, the banjo, and I think they use what we call the bass pan with a chord as the bass. And what you were hearing there is Dominican music, this song from CK, All Kind of Fish Out There. And you went to free dances and you hear all those songs for the night. I remember when being in St. Lucia in Miku, and there was a disco next to the hotel where I was staying. And I mean, for the whole day, that hotel was a non-stop. That disco was non-stop disco. Day and night music played, and it's Dominican music, WCK, and you know, all this nice music, and as well as Chubby. So I think I support Wadix to the point you make that we need to do more for this thing. And I mean, you go to Jamaica, and reggae in Jamaica is a big thing. Old reggae, new reggae is a big thing. In fact, people even enjoy the old reggae more than the new reggae because they get the kind of feeling in it, the impact, the message. Whereas in Dominica, they might say, oh, I'm the old timer to be listening to that kind of song and so forth. And the reason why they say is because it's not being played. They don't get accustomed to it. They hear it at Creole times, they hear it at Creole Festival, they hear it at those times. But outside of that, there's very little of it. So I think we need to do more. And I believe we need to have, have it in our schools, but we need to establish something where even after you leave school, if you have an interest in that area, in music, in drumming, and Wadix is right. I mean, to get a drummer here is like pulling teeth. To get a person to blow is a big issue. I mean, some time ago, we had to import somebody from St. Lucia to assist in the brass section and so on. So we need to develop these areas if we are to sustain what we have and make it. And I think we should just not make music something to just dance to and sing to, but something that can bring income, that the people who are involved in music can see their way in what they do and so forth. And I think Dominicans need to give more support. While I'm there, I want to commend Wadix in a big way for his effort and what he have had over the weekend of July there, and to say that must be a continuous thing each year. Let's pray to God that it can happen each year. And Wadix, take a bow. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Boso. And we kind of strayed from the export aspect. And I want to kind of bring us back.
We want to go back.
And I want to touch it a little, Mr. G. Why? Because
I just want to make sure Thomson does not have a call before we go on.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
One of the I mean, every country or every country aspire to export the best of whatever, because whenever that leaves Dominica, whatever product is out there, it's the best from Dominica. And it has not been critical at what is out presently, because what is presently, are we confident that is the best coming out from Dominica? I mean, it's not about why the struggles whoever is going through or whatever, but are we confident that whatever is leaving Dominica and going out is the best Dominica can produce, especially when we know what we produced before and how far it reached and the name it brought us, the dividends it brought us, the respectability it brought us. And I said that on the heels of the Jamaican Prime Minister recently actually calling for cleaning up of the lyrical content of their songs, mainly because he's interested in the export of what leaves Jamaica and going a path that they can be proud of it. So it's not been critical to any artist in particular, but I think a country, it's important that whatever the product is of the highest quality ever from that country. So any Dominican globally will be happy and satisfied. Now, are we promoting that? Are we promoting the best quality product to leave Dominica? And that is where the industry would ensure the standards, because standards is also very important in production of the quality. And I'm not quite sure if we understand that in the music business. The guys before, from the early Cadence to the Bouillon days, understood that, because when you heard a WCK, you heard Exile, you heard quality. You heard musicians playing instruments. You heard melodies, critical for the movement, melodies. not just drum machine like in today. You heard melodies, you heard vocalists. How many male vocalists we can call and single out and say, yes, they are the top 10 in Dominica? We more have chanters of the new generation, but how many vocalists? Now to penetrate, let's take a similar genre like soca. Look at the vocal variations in soca, and then we will understand why soca has penetrated. Because people in Japan want to listen to vocals, they don't want to listen to a man chanting. I hope you understand. So the quality, if we're thinking of standards, is critical in any music industry. And what are we doing to enhance the standards? And the standard doesn't mean in just, quality of the song, but the sound, the instrumentation, the vocal variation, the melodies. Because we were there. We know what it is to be there. I heard Vola Volée in test match cricket before Dominica test match cricket, and you know how I felt. You know, whether it's during tea time or lunchtime, you're in Vola Volée in the entire Caribbean. I traveled extensively, and when I hear balance party, any party. Just recently, we were we got a video of in South America that they were playing a mideba. When you hear the sounds, which are not within the Dominican national space, which means these sounds transcended boundaries, different nationalities. They may not even understand the language, but they understand the music, the melodies, compared to what, that is happening now. Are we proud? Lord Shorty I, before he died, said one of his biggest regrets, if he knew now what he know, if he know now what he knew then, some of the lyrical content of what he wrote in the early days, he would never have done it.
No, but what it's, let's do this, because you see, that is why we're here tonight, That's the reason why we're here tonight doing what we're doing and saying the things we're saying, because we're hoping to start a new chapter. We're hoping to influence the influencers to help start a new chapter, a rebirth, because we're not saying let's just go to something new. We're saying to go back and see what we have done already and improve on it. Look, all is not lost, right? Because when I listen to the lyrical content of, say, rap music today, it's changing. Yeah. They're cleaning up the act now. The Jamaicans are cleaning up the act in reggae. And what I'm finding now is that Jamaicans are bringing country and Western music in their reggae and doing all kind of things. So in other words, all is not lost.
This soca artist bringing compa and zouk into soca now.
Exactly. Now, what is happening all around?
If you look carefully, you understand the whole concept of bouillon being materialized. Yeah? It's the whole bouillorization of the music. That's what's going on there.
So why isn't it our artists doing it? Why isn't
the thing is we have to have leaders, yeah? People that lead in. And not when somebody is leading for other people to try to be setting traps in their way and all that. So that's why I come with that same vibe about, we working together, we support one another, we strengthen one another, we encourage one another. We don't dare to be pulling on one another. And
I want to stop you. Why? Let me tell you why. You look at the Jamaicans, you look at the Trinidadians, you look at the Bajans, you look at the Haitians. All these islands that are prospered with the music, they always have collaborations. On one CD, you see the best of all, the best of Jamaica, whatever, strictly the best, reggae, this. But in Dominica, how many compilations have we made of our music?
Attempts of that was done, right?
But for instance,
I've done a thing with DJ Cut.
Yes. But we're talking about this is a normal thing for the Trinidadians and the Bajans. You look at all the compilations.
Okay, fine, but you have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. We started. But now, when we don't support one another, that's the same thing we're talking about. When we don't support one another, we have a problem. Some guys, the best thing they find, it was like as if I was going to make $1 million of that and find, they should take some action with me or get guys together and conspire. Yeah? And you know it. It's not a thing that you don't know, Wadix,
Yeah, I'm aware. I'm aware
of those kind of a situation now. So all those things there kept us How many years behind? For instance, Bouillon Music had the whole vibe 15 years ahead of the game. 15 years ahead of the game. And what some guys decide, because of their greed, their jealousy and everything, and when you talk about that, fellas saying about, no, it wasn't this or not that, but it's true. They decided they want to set traps in people's way. So that's what. So there's the kind of a thing that we need to clean up also. We need to clean that up. We need to lead by example. You know, not just coming and say it, we're just talking about it, but we have to do it is in practice.
I'll tell you what we really need, Ram, is what we're talking about from the very beginning. We need to be, everybody need to be working alongside a policy, around the policy. In other words, if the country, as Wadix is saying, listen, we see this as something that can be exported. Let us see if we're talking about World Creole Music Festival, and we're talking about the World Creole Music Festival World Tour. We have to make sure we have the best, because we want to sell the best of everything, whether it's bouillon or cadence or whatever. It has to be the best, because you want to be internationally competitive. Now, some of what I hear coming out of some of the bouillon songs, they don't have longevity. There is, but if you listen to your older folks, and some of us even today, some of the let us say the country and western songs, we still remember some of them. Why? Because of the lyrical content, because they speak to our life, they speak to a story. If you listen to some of the kind of so like Chubby or Coco Sec, it tells a story, right? When I listen to, when we did the first Creole Festival, we had this compilation called Jose Voe Mute, right? All these things have a story in them, and that is what gives it longevity, so that 100 years from now, that story is still there, and it still has meaning and impact on your life, even 100 years down the road. So what I'm saying is that I'm advocating that we look seriously at our musical content to make those stories internationally competitive, so they have longevity. Uber can take all the stories, everyday life. That is what people like Pat Aaron are doing, the songs that they write for Dice and so on. You listen to Dice songs and you go into, they will live forever. There is a story behind them. So I think WCK started doing that, Ra. We have to go back to that. But I'm saying all is not lost. Because if you look at advertising, right? There was a time when advertising for an era, there was all sex. All sex. All of a sudden, you have senior citizens doing ads, you have children doing ads. Sex is not a big, so I think Dominica is behind. We're still pushing sex, but that is phasing out. In some of the bigger countries, it's phasing out. So we need to understand, it's like when people started seeing people wearing their pants under their butt, like we started picking that up now, that's gone. You're not seeing rap artists doing that anymore. So in other words, we have to now get ahead of the game and realize, hey, wait a minute, if we want to be international competitive, we have to stay with the times. So this business, the kind of lyrical contents we have or lack of it, is not going to last. We have somebody now who's smart. And I think this young group, there's a young group that's been coming out with some lyrics. Is it, what's the name of it group? There's Shirley and these guys in it?
Signal Band.
See, some of these groups are now coming out with some lyrical content, right? So I think this is where it's going to have to be. That's why I said to you, lyrical content is what you're going to have to focus on. Write the songs and make it nice, and so that people will sing it and they learn the words and it'll live forever. That's the point. I mean, there's some songs that from Exile One and Gramax and so on, you'll never forget. Generations that are yet to be born will remember them, because these songs will mean something to them. We don't have all night, as we know, so we have to come.
As we said,
but just before I leave, we leave, though, going back into the topic. When you look at, let's say, the French, because I like to go back to the French, because they have a fully fledged music industry with copyrights, SACEM, and everything well structured. Radio stations have to have the playlist. As a matter of fact, program directors that prepare the music list to play. So it's not a DJ come in and do what he want and play what he want and that kind of thing. So they're on a different level where they are, they understand the business of music, so they can understand how your investment into the music can turn dividends to you. Several festivals. They may not have a Creole festival like ours, but they are Begin Festival, they have Goka Festival, they have Mazuka Festival. That's recently I was invited to a Cassava Cassava Festival and I think there were Kalinago people invited to that also. Just try to imagine, because these people understand if you want to invite people, you have to have a calendar of activities that will attract people when they come to the destination. Because not everybody that can come Carnival time, not everybody that can get the Off-World Creole Music Festival time. During the summer, that's why we try the cadence. During Lent, there is, so I think a major, we have two genres. I think a major bouillon festival, old and new guys, and could work. You select a very good time and it can work. Why it can work? Because there's a history, 30 how many years now, bouillon, 88 to now, almost 34 years, bouillon music is in existence. But there are a string of artists who are alive still. You could do similar to what we did, have an all-star bouillon crew and have a lot of the singers singing because they are no longer with bands. Have the younger bands come and let us have it don't have to be a 3-night festival. It could be a major one night, but then the thing about it is you using what you have now, Thomson, what that belongs to you to bring people to spend money. And you, the musicians, have an opportunity to earn some revenue from what you have worked hard for. But then if you just leave it like that and expect, well, maybe a Wadix might do it, maybe a Thomson might do it. I think that is why if you have an industry, and that's why I'm happy I had the opportunity to do some little studies in Russia. They look at their deficiencies. So it don't make it just have everybody going and study law or everybody going and study agriculture. If they feel based on the economy, we need, let's say, lawyers. Whether you want to study law or not, if you really want to study, the country now need lawyers is law to one study because you are positive, you must get a job. If we had that industry, we now know we need drummers. We set up workshops. There is Froggy there. We can send to a style rock. We need to teach young people drumming in schools because that's a deficiency. We no longer have Christian musical class. We have maybe Valina later and whoever's I'm teaching brass. The Mari guy, we get some young children to learn brass as a subject. Sometimes we give them a stipend to learn to play brass. That is how it is done. You understand? That is how it is done. If we just leave it for everybody to just decide, we're going to have strictly lawyers and doctors and nobody to play music. We have to look at the thing holistically, and that's why I like to rub on the Russian experience, because they identify where the deficiencies are and they place resources and energy. We have a World Creole Music Festival. How many? Yes, Lyndon and the other guys are good. Have we ever sent anybody to do a scholarship? The same way we get scholarship for doctor and lawyer to do music engineering. Have we ever, gotten scholarships for that? Soul now is a professor in St. Thomas, but he's on his own. We can send people and learn music. Young people that are interested to go back and teach music. Anthony Gussie has a music as a cadre slips to school in La Réunion. Why can't we have one here? And that is what we're talking about. Budget for entertainment, where you have a good project, solid team to look at your project. And because we have maybe 10 million in that particular budgeted, possibly a project can qualify like they do, let's say, Conseil Regional. Once your project is solid, here are the resources, and you do your reports, regular reports, and people check on you. Otherwise, if we allow it to go like this is going now, as a matter of fact, the story from what is going on now, all other bands are going to head to that direction because of the success of that one story, So they're going to forget quality, they're going to forget everything else. And this thing is working for that man, boss. Let me try that man. But then that is why
what I want to say is we've been having a wonderful discussion tonight. But what I want us to look at a way forward, how we could improve on what has been happening. And what I'm strongly suggesting, and Creole Heartbeat can take the lead on that, if we can put together free high quality CDs, electronically and physically, and the resources that we generate from those free highly quality CDs, we can use this to develop the Creole music, be it Kadaslipso, be it Bouillon, generally in workshops, in the schools, because we need to take some critical actions to ensure that that musical art form, that powerful musical art form that we have created in Dominica, we can continue working with it and continue bringing it forward. And this is
If I may,
very, very important.
if I may just touch, I know you talk about the cities area, which is a great idea, but no, we have to be a par with the technology that's happening right now.
Yes, electronically.
Yeah.
You know,
So
and we work it out.
if you have
How
to check
can
it
we
out now.
bring that out there?
You have a
and
CD,
use
but it
that
makes
to
no sense.
generate revenues because we need income.
But Ron, one of the things I suggested, because I was the first person that was coordinating NCCU Kadaslipso competition, one of the things I proposed to them is to give different studios a lump sum. And they are now responsible to do the talent search. It's like what QFM is doing. But the studios now are responsible. So you have, let's say, 8 or 9 or how many studios, you give them maybe it's 10, 15,000 to get, let's say, 5, 6, 7 quality recordings, because you have a whole 6 months to put that together. You have a budget. With a budget, that is what you do with the budget. You try to get budding new talent singers who can possibly cross over. And you decide, all right, you want some quality kadas, you want some quality bouillon. And then with the aim of export. Not the
Very
aim
well.
of,
And
not just
bringing
the,
people to
not just the
consume
thing
resources
about
in
we just
Dominica.
have a good time and sing. You have 6 months, you have 8 months, you have 9 months to produce. You identify the talent. There may be talent we know, like what QFM is doing, exposing new people that we never knew could sing. But then the studios have that, is a job. And you try different things instead of just leaving it and trying to see if another mistake or not another mistake, an experiment will happen. We have to do something, and that is why we are asking possibly if this could be looked at the budgetary level, where we know that there is a 10, 15 million that is available for things like that, for the
So let me put a challenge
development.
to Mr. G, to put together a working group where we can come together and analyze all those situations. How can we improve what we need to do to improve on the quality, on the production, be it the Kadaslipso, be it the bouillon, to ensure that we have a quality product that we can export and people can come to Dominica to consume.
But of course,
recently, Q95 did a program which was very good, but there was no Kadaslipso in there. There was no local rhythms in there. You saw people who were very expressive, were very colorful, were very talented, but there was no Kadaslipso. There was no local rhythms. So, Mr. G, I'm putting this challenge to you, where you can put together a working group. I'm prepared to work.
Same here.
The other thing is
especially what Creole Heartbeat has done, Gordon Henderson,
Ronald,
Diana Creole, Gordon Henderson, what he has done together with Wadix. Can we put a working group together?
Let's
so we
talk
can
a little bit.
developing on that quality product to ensure that our cultural industry is developed, so we can export it like the Jamaicans have done, go out there and bring in people to enjoy our Creole music.
All right, let's start from there. Well, we come into solutions, right? I mean, good idea. Now, we've done QTS, as you know, Wadix, for a few years, and then we did it again. It's a Christmas contest, and we did it now. Now, what I would say is this. If you go back and check the voices of the people who were in the top 3, in all of those shows, the terrific voices.
Very good.
You say some people who are in those bands and those groups, they're not singing, they just chant, but these people can sing. Even the last program with the top 4 singers there, they really can sing.
Very good.
You understand? Now, they obviously had a choice to sing whatever song they wanted, so they sang what they wanted. But if we have a program and a show where we ask them to sing certain songs, then they could sing certain songs. And if we want the quality for export, then we can go to original songs that let writers write good lyrical content, strong lyrical content, because we know we have the voices. and we can get him into a studio that can properly produce and mix and master, you could get some great songs which can be exported, because then you want to make sure they're internationally competitive. So I think we have the voices, we have the people who can sing. It's a matter of putting it together to get the quality that Wadix is talking about for export.
And you're so right, Mr. G.
And Mr. G, I heard about Abia Israel. There's a young lady called Abia Israel who's come on the scene recently.
Yes, that's
high
a
quality,
gem.
high quality.
But then let's look at the experiment when Fitzroy chose Dice. Dice, we all know Dice, have very good singing ability. And how he transformed himself into the cadence repertoire.
Right.
If you did not know, you believe Dice was singing cadence all his life.
Yeah.
Flawless execution of cadence. The brother had the ability to transform himself into the lyrics of the song and had gesticulation to really portray the performance. I mean, this is genius. And like Mr. G said, if you have those quality singers, what you maybe need now is good writers and possibly people like producing. So that's why I'm talking about the same now network with the studios. So the studios now have some raw material, well, not even raw material, but they have some people they can now choose on and write good songs. You experiment. Like what the other genres do, you experiment, crossover. You don't have to be the same way Cadence was made in the 70s. But you include, you incorporate, you fuse. Improve on it as the music evolves and the taste of people evolve. Let me tell you, a good song is a good song no matter what language.
Right.
You might hear a good Spanish. When Suavemente come out,
and jazz it up.
I wonder if people know the meaning of Jerusalem. The whole world was taught by Jerusalem. Good music is good music.
Right.
No matter the language.
Right.
So we haven't got to allow ourselves to still believe that we are secondary I think we created 70,000 people creating two genres. There are territories if millions of people can create a genre. So we have the raw material, we have the ability, the potential.
And the quality that we have, Wadix.
Yeah.
We've got to find a way of passing it on to young people. The
but of
quality
course.
Of Gordon, of Fitzroy, of Freddie, of Jerry.
Daryl, Bob,
every time I try to get a little minute, I get in squeeze out. There's all right, so I just have to stay. I have to keep myself quiet.
But you see, it's important. Yes.
We're talking about development, music, and all that. I had a session going for maybe about a year and a half where I was training young musicians, not even in the double figures.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Yes, I'm aware.
I was doing the drums, I was doing keyboards, I do the bass, guitar, and we're just about to do the engineering part when the hurricane strike.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Yeah.
So that is how work has been done. So it's not a thing that we coming up with a fresh new idea. That thing has been dealt with already.
But that is where the budgetary arrangement comes in, Nora.
That exactly where the budget comes in. That's what we're talking about. There's where we at. With the budget. And to get the right and structure, budget and structure. That is where we need to really tackle. There's where our real areas to deal with. We're talking about, because we go around in circle, we dance all kind of a different thing. We do Jinping, we do Bele, we do Lapo Kabwit, we do everything. But we have to understand that the budget, the money has to be there, and the resource, people need to be in place. So when we have that, we have the managerial skill, we have the resource people that could train, we have the budget to go with it. Because, my boy was talking about a thing about this can happen and so, but now, if you hang out the incentive, the encouragement, and which you make mention about, giving people like a stipend, give them a thing there. So they're learning a thing, but no, they've been encouraged, and stuff like that to strengthen the vibe. I remember when I go to the college the first time there, it was after the hurricane. We're getting a stipend just to go up to the college because now they were lacking in people to help to fix up the hospital and stuff like that. Of course, we are training because we went to good school, so we were trained that way. But they were working on that there and giving you the encouragement, the incentive. So that's what we're talking about. So I'll take it off.
No, but you see what you're saying there, and what I'm saying, what Ronald's saying, what Wadix saying, we're saying the same thing. If you notice, Wadix said to the credit union, the NCCU, when they were doing their stuff, the best thing to do, have this budget, 10, 15,000, give it to the production studios, let them go out and search for the voices and the talent, and put out the quality that you're looking for. So you have at least 6, 7, 8, 10, whatever quality products that you can put out for your cadres, Calypso competitions, right? So I think we're saying the same thing. If we put that on the national scale, you see, we're talking about amplifying that 20 times. Ronald is saying, let's make a start. Let's put a small group together of a coalition of the willing, and let us start discussing to see what is the best thing to do with these ideas. Yes, we can start, but I'm hoping that the policymakers are listening to us tonight. And I hope they're listening and taking in what we're saying. And I have no problem if they copy every good idea that has come out here tonight and incorporate it and put it in there and do it, because that is what we want. I think we want people to really get work and really become wealthy from this thing, because this talent is, I'm telling you, when I see people like Rihanna, Jay-Z, that's coming, she agree, and the next week Rihanna is a billionaire, you know. A billionaire. I mean, Beyonce started, and I remember going to Toronto, downtown Toronto, and watching Beyonce free of charge with a group of girls on a stage just singing, promoting, free of charge. Where you can go and see Beyonce free of charge now? I mean, this woman is she's probably a billionaire by now, along with Jay-Z. So the point I'm making is that not because we're from Dominica, we cannot do the same thing too.
Mr. G, can we take a final caller?
Yes,
we're approaching the end.
Yes.
Good evening, caller. Your final caller for tonight.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I listen to the program, and I think we all worried about this. But if we study Dominican Cadence music, Dominican music was rated as a bit music, you know. There's a music and especially music. This is where we have to look forward to music. You have most of the French-speaking African countries and even Latin America. They have most of their music is segmented by class, like for instance, world beat, your folklore and world class music is based is recorded under that segment, world beat. So we could add folklore, we could add people from Martinique, Guadeloupe, and the Francophonie. Francophonie is an organization that could help finance a festival for us in the way of world beat, with colors music. We have to look at these angles too. I can't talk longer because I know the program always finishing.
All right.
Was calling that late anyway. So
yeah, thanks a lot.
There's a lot that could be said about that. That is the angle we have to look at the music. The music is very rich. Some time ago I used to listen. Long time ago I used to listen to shortwave radio. And places like Cuba, they had Dominica. They were promoting Dominica, 2 genres of music, and considered Dominica a world big country. I don't know if you're all aware of that. Cuba used to have shortwave listening radio, and they used to promote the world beat music. And a lot of countries had that: Venezuela, Brazil, Guyana. So we have already market and an attraction already. We just to get to it and do the work. Thank you.
No, well, that's excellent.
Thank you, caller.
Just a comment on the caller. I agree with him 100%, but that goes back to the same federation that Mr. Gregoire spoke about in the early days. That was the vision, basically.
Well, we started doing that.
Less burden would have been on, let's say, Dominica to actually finance the World Creole Music Festival because of the other partners that would have been involved, and we then would have been supporting whatever festival they would have had in the destination. But then that is one of the pleas of Gordon Anderson, and I really hope that this can be taken seriously, is to see Cadence Calypso be UNESCO endorsed. You have spoken about it on several occasions, but then it's a situation where it has to be approached from the national level, where it is UNESCO endorsed. According to him, there are several other genres that were born after Kadas Lipso. 2 years from now, Kadas Lipso will be 50 years. UNESCO endorsed it. And here it is that we are not attempting aggressively enough to get something that belongs to us. By the way, it's ours. No one can take Kadas from us. It is ours. It belongs to Dominica, and it is us to push it. And that is why we're talking about the industry. We have something like a Kadas Lipso that can be, as a matter of fact, was played in the four corners of the globe. And there is I'm not sure, I don't want to call it reluctance, but there's a cry from one of the people who created the music to get it UNESCO endorsed. It has the history, it has the body of work, it has everything, but there's the approach to get it UNESCO endorsed. I think it is something that we need to push, because it is then going to go into the archives of world music, like the brother just called. It will be like what we have. We seem to forget about a lot of other things like the Emerald Pool, which is important. And then this human resource where Kadas Lipso is so popular. Kadas Lipso has done so much for us. It's music in general, entertainment in general. We seem to, as a people, like a side thing. It is as important as any other gifts God has given to us. I mean, my brother, Dominica have a way people, the Dominicans just dance a particular way. Nowhere else in the world does dance. I just look at other people dancing. I was a DJ all my life. I can tell you, Ra played music. Dominica people have something about them. They sing in us a kind of feeling. We don't seem to appreciate what we have. It belongs to us. Nobody can claim it. They can make all variations of Bouillon and Kadas they want. They cannot say Bouillon is theirs. They cannot say Kadas is theirs. I heard a St. Lucian was bold enough to come in Dominica and say Bouillon is from St. Lucian. The man wasn't arrested. The man was supposed to be arrested on our stage. Incredible. But how we can come in, I mean, we see, and people are so bold about what belongs to them. And we are so quiet, we are so timid about our gifts God has given to us. We don't have oil and gold, but that is what God has given to us, my brother. We have
so
to
Wadix, that UNESCO initiative can be one of the objectives of the working group. Wadix, that UNESCO initiative can be one of the objectives of the working group.
Exactly.
So we really need to get that working group. And given the technology now, given the current technology, you can have a working group with persons from all over the world. We can have gotten on the working group. We can
of course,
over there, and ensure that we stay focused and we can develop that beautiful, colorful, jazzy music that we have.
Yes, Ron, indeed. And Ron, I agree with you. In fact, that is something that can be pursued. I know Wadix said it has to be done on a national level, but not necessarily. I think it can be done if the working group takes it up and find out the criterion that has to be used and how it has to be presented. You know, it can be done. It can be done through an NGO or through a group acting in the best interest of Dominica.
And Thomson, let me just remind Ronald Lander that it was while we were at the NDC that our national park was designated.
Yeah, from Mr. Prevot.
So,
Mr. Prevot was very aggressive in that area.
So we did quite a bit of work on that in terms of trying to ensure that we met the criteria. The Ministry of Tourism did another work on that. We helped with that. So I think we understand. And remember, again, let me remind you again, Ronald and Wadix, while we were doing the Creole Music Festival and we were doing the World Federation of Creole Cultures and having its annual get-together, right. Remember that we also prepared a document for the Francophonie. Big document. It was totally translated into French. It had to be sent, and we sent it to the ministry, but somehow it got lost somewhere. We never heard about it again. It got buried somewhere. But that was the idea, was to get a lot of resources from the Francophonie to do some of what we're talking about there now. And we did all the work, did all the documentation, but somehow somebody did not see that as a priority, and it got buried somewhere.
But just look at the Creole language.
As you're making this point there, we must recognize there were two ministers that were very assertive, Mr. Prevot and Mr. Timothy.
Julie Timothy.
Working with us at the NDC.
Yeah, but
we have done so much more work, but Whatever happened.
Yeah, but when you look at the Creole language itself, which is, to my mind, endangered, I challenge any one of you to ask all your children and grandchildren if they can speak Creole. I challenge. If it's not from Granby or maybe Scott said or maybe Vekas. Now, that's in our face. The new generation are not speaking the language. I want to give Mr. G a flack. Not even on QFM the language is being spoken, which means
we're waiting for you.
have to look at this.
When you
Look at the serious Thomson. We have this language which allows us to communicate with the whole Franco world. It is almost leaving us, because if our children can't speak it, I don't think it's their children that will speak it. And St. Lucia has gone ahead. They have a Creole Institute. Everywhere the language is accepted. In Parliament. Right now in the schools, it's a language, and we're still sleeping. We are Fontaine. You know what I mean? And history will tell us at one stage we were aligned with St. Lucia in the Creole. They went through the same stigma as us. They went through the same challenges as us, but yet still they maintained their Creole. Haiti go through all its struggles, but one thing, they maintain their Creole. There's a big force now for the Creole to be you can now get a degree in Creole studies. At the university in Matic, you can now get a degree in Creole studies. But what are we doing collectively?
But here's what we're
preserve
doing.
Our Creole. St. Lucia gone clear.
Here's what we did.
St. Lucia gone clear. While we cannot even, if it is spoken in Parliament, it must be translated. To come here every time and continue to beg, sometimes it hurts, because it is sometimes you're feeling like you're in the Sahara Desert and you just continue to speak and speak and speak. But this is happening in our face, in our time, in our generation. We are these custodians of what happened to the Creole now. We cannot leave it for our children when they themselves cannot speak it.
But Wadix,
it is our responsibility collectively.
You have to remind yourself.
It has to be heard for people to learn it, for people to understand. If it is not heard, if it is not been, people can't hear it. We can depend on the little thing Keck doing or the experience Creole. That is not in front of all of that. It is dying.
But Wadix, I keep reminding you.
And Mr. G, I want to challenge you tonight. Get Creole on the big station.
All right.
The language. We teach our children the language.
Okay.
It is imperative. It is our responsibility. You are a Creole man. I know you are a Creole man.
Well, let me take on the challenge then.
I think, Thomson, we don't have to take on
the challenge. Yeah? Here's the challenge. Wadix, when will you be ready to come across on Q95 to do the Creole program?
We can have a discussion. We can have a discussion.
So now we're getting somewhere. But Wadix, don't forget this. Don't forget this, right?
Yeah.
The reason why we established the World Federation of Creole Cultures is precisely that. It was not going to be Dominica alone. It was going to be all of us in the Creole world.
Yes.
All of us were going to push for the Creole language to be taught in school and push. St. Lucia went ahead. But remember, Dominica had moved ahead,
Yes.
Dominica was doing a lot of work. Felix Anderson, all those guys. And
Allwyn, from the days of Allwyn.
Yeah.
A lot of work.
Jamala Fontaine.
Jamala, Gregoire, even the Sonia Lloyd talk about that he was really concerned as to how many people had actually attended the funeral and the caliber of people.
Right.
Because sometimes my brother, you feel, boss, leave this thing alone sometimes because you feel you're putting your all into it and you don't get the level of respect and you don't even get the level of dividends. And even when you pass, people don't even worry about you. Tony Valmore died, he played almost music for Liquid Dicey, buried. I don't even think they had 50 people, it's like people don't worry. Whereby it is totally different in a lot of other places. I can tell you in the French. I saw Jeff in his real dung days go through immigration, go through all kind of people and just to bring a vault of acid for me, check in. And everybody just ask Jeff passing, just shift for Jeff to pass. And you cannot just pass through, into the, illegal entry areas. But that is the respect they had for Jeff. That is the respect they give to their musicians, their performers, their artists. We seem to feel that, we still have that colonial mindset that music, if you decide to go and learn music, you're a waste of time, you're a vagabond. So we still have that old colonial cloak, that mental slavery still actually cramping us. It's stifling us, my brother, and we cannot realize, but these people have done so much for us. That is why we decide to go all the way in the Creole Admit. It's not plenty money we have, but we make sure we put 18, 19 legends outside there so people can learn about them. Because nothing has been done. I want to do Alwyn Bully before Alwyn Bully die. I want to do Gregoire and Raymond Lawrence. But that is where the budget comes in, according to Rod. That is where it comes in. We want to do the whole Bouillon thing, Lawrence Brumant go. We want our children to know about Lawrence Brumant. We have a whole legion of Bouillon artists. From Ra, look at you, go, look at you. Today was his first anniversary since his death. People don't know, people don't worry about that. You understand? We are not accustomed of elevating our people. We still into that crab in a barrel mentality where if one man try to elevate, our job is to pull him down and not to elevate him.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing we're talking about. Mr. G was saying, come back home. I haven't spent more than 7 weeks out of Dominica. Anytime I travel, I never spend more than 7 weeks out of Dominica. And I stayed home. I stayed in Dominica, give my everything because I believe in Dominica, and I used to be out there telling people, advocating for Dominica and telling them, well, you must come down home and see what's happening and, contribute to the whole economy and everything and participate in the culture and everything. But you see what's happening there now. After you make that kind of a sacrifice and you get that level of disrespect, I maybe have to do like a Mr. G. Or I maybe have to do like a Thomson Fontaine. I maybe have to do that.
Sometimes you regret you didn't do that. You didn't do that earlier.
I check into myself that, I don't know, because at that point there, I check in myself, what am I really doing in the air right now? I come to that point there now because my whole vibe was to make sure I have my foundation safe. If I make a little turn, then when I come back, I'm going to go and sleep by Mazabet or whoever. So that's the whole thing about it. But now we need the incentive. We need the encouragement, because as Wadix was just saying, how much of the legends passing and they like going like nothing. Have a man like Ruzi that represents that do all kind of a thing. I doesn't hear Ruzi celebrating his birthday or commemorating the day that he died. Nothing. And Ruzi is supposed to be the one that put Labour Party there. And I don't want to be political, but I just talking about the vibes in reality. At time they're having a cricket match, and you see a man like Chaucer Doc Trove and couple cricketers that I know play back in the day, and the man stand up outside in the sun there waiting to get a ticket to go and see West Indies. Qui kate bagay sa makawe, ajou, sala, apouiza, moi frère, moi sè, tout moun ki katan moi apouiza la. Oui? Qui kate bagay sa? That's disrespect. That's total disrespect, and that is very discouraging. To see that you have that type of talent and you want to share it, with your brothers and your sisters, but yet we have that thing holding back. So now I'm so very happy that we have that forum, that we could talk about that and put something in place. And one of the good suggestions that were made by Mr. Lander was to put that thing. Of course, everybody came up with it, but Mr. Lander came up with it and make it more blatant in everybody's face, that we need to put that committee together, because it look like it's NGOs that have to be running the sport. Because if you're waiting on government, you ain't getting nowhere. They're seeing the resource, they're seeing the talents. That's why Too Short to Flam will always come to my mind. So many
honestly, I think, we need to, take responsibility for ourselves, because that's the most
naturally, because the way it is there, we need to do it. And now we need to support one another, because I could see Mr. G. I remember when you do that thing there with how they call it now, Midnight Groovers. They was in St. Martin's School. I was a little youth then.
Oh, it was a buy local. It wasn't a buy local something.
The trade show.
Trade show
Trade
was
show,
it? Name? I
trade
looking
show.
for the name,
Trade
trade
show.
show.
Trade show.
When I watched that them, and I could still see that happen, that stage happening in St. Martin's School. I don't know why St. Martin's School they choose to do that thing there. Up to now, that's still like a stamp in my mind.
Yes.
And I see the kind of effort. I remember the jeans thing there because it was my family there.
Yes.
Yeah. Moros, right?
Yes.
Came up with the jeans, kind of a sun style, kind of a stuff. Boy, my God, where right now you can't find a seamstress. Everybody there, you ask them, even down to cotton here, agriculture. Dominicans has been erased from all that, you know.
You know, we had 125 people working in that garment factory. 125.
My God.
Sun style.
When I watch
No,
Russell,
not Sun style. By Trini
By Trini.
when I watch Russell, it beats my heart
125
because I know the type of garments, you know, the Moros and them could think from since I like a youth, I raise up there, right? And I see the kind of a garments and the type of cuts. You check me? The kind of a high level of tailoring.
Used to
And
make a
that just
French
go
cut.
to nothing.
We used to make a French cut jeans, and we sold that in every island in the Caribbean, from Jamaica
Imagine that.
all the way down to Guyana, including Martinique and Guadeloupe.
Wow.
They had our
So,
jeans on
you
every
know,
shoulder.
I just bring that to say we cannot have all those stuff. And I mean, the music now at the crossroads. Look what it's bowling now. You can't find a drummer. You can't find a man could play a tambulele. You can't find a man could play a lapokabwit. You're losing fellas that can play an instrument. You're losing, you know, everything going electronic. But again, as I tell my youth, man, you have to have an idea of how the instrument, the real instrument is played. If you want to duplicate it on a computer, you have to know how
the basics,
how you approach the equipment. Because I remember when we were doing the accordion, I tell Cornell, hey, you can't have that thing like that there. You have to make a certain sound when the accordion take in the air. When you squeeze in it, when you do the you check, because it making that sound, you have to know how the instrument works. You check. So no, that's what the kind of things that we need to really hold and preserve for us to make it. You know, so.
No, but I think importantly, that's my closing comment, because I see it's almost 11:15.
Right.
And we need a deeper appreciation for history and the players that make the history. We say we big up the Bala and the Facel and the Congori, but here we have living ancestors with us, and we pay no respect to them. We don't worry how they live, how they survive. You know, I think a deeper appreciation for our history would make us know where we are, will make us take stock and to actually know what makes us who we are. And once again, culture is the way we live. And if we are serious about culture, we should look at the way everyone live, you know, because it's all of us that makes society, all of us that make up the consumption power. We have the inflation when we invite people, but we have to take care of ourselves first. Regardless to what we do, we have to take care of ourselves. Like a mother, you have to take care of your children first before you can tell a neighbor, come and get a little milk. You have to make sure all your children have. And I think if we continue to have that, you know, build on that, where we put our Dominica first, you know, we put ourselves first. We need what we have to, we need whatever, but we go for it and get it and apply it to our daily lives. I think we will actually transform the way we think, the selfish way we approach life in general, and we take a leaf or two from the yesterday or the yesteryear when we were each other's keeper, and we had our politics always, but we have allowed it to divide us to the extent where to get a committee with a coalition committee with all the sides going to be so difficult because of possibly a few people that may be in it. And that is where we have to cross those bridges. We have to break down this, you know, the stigma of segregation and politics. And as a people, we must come together at some point in time. And that's why I love what happened over last weekend, you know. People from all walks, all different political persuasions come and have that good time, clean fun at the Windsor Park forecourt. And that is what Kadas can do. That is what music can do. And if music can do that, take care of the musicians and let us build a positive and viable music industry in Dominica.
Now, Ronald, I want to go to you for your closing remarks before I go to Thomson. But I'll just say this from what Ra has said and from what Wadix has said. What we had when we did the Creole Music Festival, like everything else that you do, when I did a garment factory, we had a vision, we had a plan, we had a structure, right? And we had a marketing strategy in place. You have to do the same thing for the music, art, and entertainment industry. You have to do that. It has to have a plan, a vision, a structure. Same thing we did for the Creole Music Festival. There was a vision, there was a plan, there was a structure. There was an implementation program, and it was executed. We selected the right people to do the right things, right? And so I just want to go to you for your closing remarks in terms of all what we've said here tonight and where do we go from here.
Yeah.
You're okay, but you turned off your mic. Your mic was on, but you turned it off. You have to turn it back on.
Okay. What I would like to recommend firmly, based on all the discussions that we've been having tonight, and I've got some other ideas that I would like to bring forward. I would like you to initiate a working group. If you can put together a working group of persons locally, regionally, and internationally, where we can come and sit down and share ideas and look at a vision, look at a mission, look at programs so we can develop the musical art form, as we did when we were together at the NDC with the World Creole Music Festival. I would firmly recommend that. That's my final point for tonight. If we can get that going, this would be the base for bringing together a lot of future activities and bringing together the best minds to take care of the further development of the musical art form. Finally, I want to congratulate again Leroy, Wadix, Charles, the Creole Heartbeat, Diama Creole, Gordon Henderson, for putting together such a wonderful festival last weekend. And let us see how we can grow on that. Let's see how we can develop on that. And I'm prepared to help, to put my services forward gratis up front.
And even with your new status in life that you don't have as much as you had before, that's a big sacrifice. So let me not ask you anything further on that matter. I'll go to Thomson for his. Thomson, you have the final word.
Yes, indeed. And I'm going to use my final couple of minutes to really refer back to the Facebook Live. We got over 100 comments tonight. A number of persons were engaged in the discussion. So let me just read a couple very, very quickly. One person says our Creole will come from the various types spoken, especially from Haiti, Guadeloupe, and Martinique. Thanks, Patriots. There has been a great program. Another person said, indeed, good night, family. It has been a great program. Great ideas. Now is the time to act. He said that the living legend and musicians, Wadix. Another one says, you guys just took me back to where we were as a country when I was growing up in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s. Another says it's about time that we big up our musicians and artists. And one says, I believe the panelists should take the initiative to finding the people to implement all those ideas. Great job, Wadix. Thank you. Thank you to Roy. So a lot of big ups and plaudits from our listeners, and I'm sure many others whom we could not entertain tonight. But I think, it's good that we're having this conversation. I think for that we touched on some very important subject areas. It shows the big need, and that is the need for us to do more to promote our music and also to honor our musicians. It is really sad when you think that the musicians are going the way that they're going without that kind of honor. And that's why I believe, as part of that thinking, I'm hoping that we can have some kind of a museum, some kind of a hall of fame that we can forever immortalize the names of the great musicians, the great artists, early 10, not only in the music, but all of the different areas, our cultural icons. Sonia Lloyd was mentioned, Fontaine, can't remember his first name, Jumala Fontaine, and all the others, Felix Henderson, and all of those who've given so much to Dominica. We need to remember these people. It is done in every other country. These individuals, they are made heroes. They remembered. Their names are passed down from generation to generation. And I think we can start that. I think we can do that. And it's something I would like to see us do. So I certainly, subscribe to this, what Ron is suggesting, a working committee that can begin to look at those types of issues and come up with some concrete ideas that they can put forward, including suggestions for the types of budgets, the types of areas to look at, the kind of areas to focus on, and let us build from that conversation. Let it not be the end. Let's not just speak and end, but let that be the start of something great going forward.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Thomson. Sonia Lloyd was mentioned. We have our Kudos for Heroes Committee, and you know what we've been doing. And Sonia Lloyd was somebody that we had in mind to designate as a national hero for all the work that she's done. And she's there, and it happened to us with Patrick John as well. He died before we could do it, but then we did it posthumously. We may have to do the same thing for Sonia Lloyd, because she's somebody who did quite a bit, contributed quite a bit. I don't think she has had any of the recognition that she really very richly deserves. And I think we would like to honor her and recognize and award her. So we'll probably go to my committee and see if we can do it posthumously, because I think she deserves to be honored and awarded. Earl Etienne is somebody I knew very well as well. I mean, everybody knew Earl Etienne very well, and look, he's just gone. We've just lost another icon. So we have to start cherishing our people, our national heroes, and the same thing goes for arts and music and arts and entertainment industry. We have many icons and many heroes there. We have to recognize them. Certainly, some of them have started getting some recognition, but many of them have not got recognition. I mean, today, even this chap Breaker, he's already doing a lot of things in England up to now, I understand. I mean, that was a Gaylord's Power Union, right? And many people may not even know about Gaylord's Power Union. Thomson, you might have written about them or heard of them something, but I mean, Breaker was a fantastic performer. I don't even, Wadix, you remember that?
Fat Cap Roy.
Greg Bannis.
Fat Cap Roy.
Right. So I just wanted to say that we need to really recognize. And then when Wadix mentioned what was happening if Jeff Joe was a personal friend of mine. Every time he came, he'd come and check me at the office and we'd sit down and talk, right? Long before he became a big famous musician, we were close, right? And when Wadix mentioned the level of respect that they gave to him in the French islands, where this man could go. I've been through the French countries many times. Nobody can just go through all these places like that without getting stopped. But Jeff Joe could do it because that's the level of respect that he had as a musician. I mean, let's face it, look at how much respect Michael Jackson had. Look at how much respect people like Jay-Z and Beyonce have. And, some rap artists that just came up a couple of years ago, 2, 3, 4 years, they have a lot of respect, make a lot of money. I think we have to treat our musicians and artists and entertainers as people very respectful, just like we'll treat somebody who got very rich in tourism or in agriculture or in manufacturing. All artists, I think, are people who could do very, very well. There is room for them to do very well. And something that is a talent that we can export and make a lot of money for some people. And as I tell you, what we've been doing with QTS has shown me that we have a tremendous amount of talent. There's a wealth of talent. There's voices that are unbelievable. I don't think we've given Michael Henderson enough support. I mean, this girl is very talented. You haven't given. I'm not saying that because she's a distant cousin or she's from Granby. I'm saying that because she really is very talented. And there are many others like her. And I listen to some of these people, and I think, Wadix, you've done a great thing. And I want to recommend you very highly for that. And as you know, I've always had a confidence in you.
Yeah.
And as I've demonstrated in many more ways than one. And I'm telling you, if today the powers that be were to take our recommendation and establish a Dominica Festivals Corporation, I would certainly recommend you very highly to be the chief executive officer of that.
Thank you very much, sir. But I just wanted to add something to Jeff Joe. Matnick and Guadeloupe had a week of mourning for our Jeff Joe. A week in Matnick, a week in Guadeloupe.
Yes.
He's a Dominican, but yet still, Matnick loved him so much. Guadeloupe the same, but when he came, we just buried him, you know. But then I guess that's how we show our love to our ancestors. But thank you very much, Mr. G. I continue to learn from a great man.
Well, the thing is, you have to judge people by what they do, it's not just this thing is just a name, it's not just a name. You have to show what you can produce. It's by your works. People have to judge you. And you have demonstrated on many, since the days of Wadix, I've been working with you. So I know what you can do. You can deliver on the work. The important thing, you need people who are going to get the job done. You see this man they call Ronald Lander, he said he wasn't going to say anything else. This guy got the job done.
Yes.
That's what he did in the industry department. He got the job done. When Ronald Lander tell you he's checking his money, don't stand in his way.
I remember those early days.
And Ronald tell you his gift receipts reach $1 million. And he said, okay, now we're in business. The fact of the matter is we didn't think small. We were thinking big. $1 million is a joke from where we wanted to go to. And then we wanted the government to make millions from the departure taxes. But that's only one little festival. Somebody called it a bastardization of the culture. Somebody said it was fete and more fete to the boys. There was resistance when we employed Eddie Toulon.
I remember you trying to get Michael Jordan and Oprah Winfrey to talk to the youth of Dominica.
You need big names in this thing. You have to think big. If you have Oprah Winfrey nominated, how many people are going to come from the other islands and come down and they will come, because it's an opportunity for them to meet. And if there's something happening that Dominicans are doing, it's an opportunity to showcase what Dominicans are doing while we have the attention of the world. So use these people as door crashers, right? And then our Dominican artists and musicians and tenors, they take center stage.
But importantly, these people, they bring press. They bring a lot of huge entourage of press, and they come and they cover the country. Because these people just have to come in and just show up. They don't have to talk. Just come and be present, and that's it. And the press follows them, and they want to know why this island, and then that's where we get our dividends.
Exactly. So just in winding up, and as we say goodnight to everybody, I want to appreciate all the people at Thomson who are on Facebook and who stayed with us, and all the wonderful comments that they made. I know I saw my friend David Joseph there. Yeah, and many other folks were out there. Rad, thank you so much for being here tonight. I mean, a lot of Dominicans, don't worry that people like us know what you're worth and what you have contributed. We know, and we have to let everybody else know what you've done. I really like the fact that when you all started that, you all started WCK, the lyrical content. I mean, you and Cornell and those guys, man, you guys were giants. And one day we have to give you your flowers, because you guys deserve a lot of flowers. I'm telling you, you all deserve flowers. And the Thomson Fontaine will write about you all, All now he covering this thing for him to write. He's going to write about you all. Don't worry. You're going to be in one of his books. And we'll buy the book.
Well, Thomson better start from Rosalie. He better start from Rosalie, and we'll take it from there.
Penny Fardin.
If you look, no, you'll get to Penny Fardin after that. But no, we'll take it from Rosalie, and we'll end up in Berriqua.
I'm glad you mentioned Berriqua, because when you and Thomson just talking about Rosalie and Grand Fond, what about Grand Bay? Hey, and Berriqua and Mabushi and Tetlali and so on. So I'm saying, hey, don't forget us.
Don't forget us. Us is us, Hey, because my father born in Grand Bay in Berriqua.
Well, I know. Your mother and my mother, your mother and my mother were good friends, We knew each other very long before you were born. I know your mom,
Okay, well, good.
Yeah, man.
All right. I'm very good.
I also have roots in Grand Bay, by the way. My grandmother. Grand Bay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
no wonder, man. No wonder.
We taking the whole East. Okay. We have the whole East. So like I was saying in closing, I think the idea is a very good idea that to start that committee,
Right.
you know, with or without the government's input, because normally, I mean, they see what's happening and they kind of want to join after a while. So I don't think we could wait on them, because if Wadix had to wait on them to do that show, I think he'll be still counting sand on the seashore.
Yeah, but I'm
So,
hoping that they will hear all the ideas, and I don't mind them taking up some of those ideas and doing it, you know, because we just want it to be done and well done for the people of Dominica and for the artists and musicians. So, but I think we can start something and try to work on something together and see if we can get something to work, and hopefully we might get the support of the policymakers, even if we have to wait until Thomson becomes prime minister. Then we might get that support in that budget that we're looking at. We're gonna hold him to it, you know.
yeah, well, I think it's something in the making, so we can wait to see, because I think it was under Edison James that he started that festival thing. So
That's correct.
I remember when we were having that show in London.
Right.
He wasn't prime. I think he was prime minister. Or was maybe
With Eddie. The show with Eddie.
Yes, and he
Yeah,
came
man.
on the stage.
Yeah.
He was prime minister at the time.
Yeah, because Eddie was the coordinator. Yeah.
Right. He came on stage and
When they brought up the content of Kubuli Bears.
Yeah,
That's
I say
correct.
he gonna have a festival. I say, but what this guy talking about coming on our stage and doing that there? We want to play our music. We don't hear about that. We want to play our music. And say, yes, I'm going to have a festival, and you guys will be. I'll be like, okay, yeah, very good. You know, so I think they had a lot of confidence in what we were doing, because of the type of work, meaning that the kind of attraction that we had to Dominica. People come and spend a weekend in Dominica just for a show, just to watch WCK for the weekend in Good Times or wherever. So you see the potential and stuff like that. So I think though Kadas was, you know, the vibe going on and stuff, and the great ideas with Kadas, but you see the potential in Booyah music, because you see Booyah music, though little things may be happening here and there, but you see it growing from strength to strength. The average little youth playing Booyah music. You know, no kind of a thing you have to think about it or try it or so. It just naturally, you check. You be walking Booyah, you singing Booyah, you dressing Booyah. That's the whole vibe, because Booyah is a way of life, you know.
Okay.
And on that note, I think I'll
that's your boots. All right, so let me just say good night to everybody. I mean, really, guys, it was very nice for all of us to be here tonight talking about this. I think it's a very important topic, and we cannot allow it to die. We have to keep it out there on the front burner. I'm sure Wadix will ensure that we do that, and Ronald will ensure that we try to get a little committee going to have some discussion. And once we start talking, you never know where it can end up, right? If you have the right people around the table talking, right? You never know how far it's going to go. So I think it's a good idea to get something going. Thomson, thanks a lot for being here tonight. I know you've had a long day. So the fact that you had a long day yesterday and a long day today, and the fact that you can still be here with us tonight, I mean, it shows how much sacrifice you're willing to make for your country. Really, really appreciate that. And,
Thank you.
Yes, and looking forward to seeing a lot more of you over the next few days while you're here. All right. So, gentlemen, let me just say good night. Everybody, Ronald, Thomson,
Good night.
Wadix,
Good night.
Take care.
All right. Thanks.
Have a nice evening, guys.
Okay.
All right.
All right, bye.
Yes. All right. Take care.
Self-nuclear wars are arson, and the world is gripped by fear of mass destruction. I'm telling you, when there's ugly will be over, and the children can go out and play. I wanna see when all oppression will be